Sorry. God, I'm late. Apologies. What's up, people? Oh, man. It was a little hectic getting here. I wanted to start 15 minutes ago. Apologies. Anyway, hi, everybody. Week 2 of extreme social distancing. Nothing's really changed around here. It's just me in here. Who we got here? We got Alan in the house. He's in Newbury. And we got Rory. What's up, man? He's from Dublin. That's a good name for a guy from Dublin. Rory, I like it. Sorry we didn't get there on the Classic Rock Show tour that I just got back from recently. I'm lucky that we got that tour in before all this craziness started happening. I feel very fortunate, I have to say, folks, because I just traveled so much throughout the back half of last year and then did that tour. And then to come back right when I did and then have all this stuff happen. I didn't want to see my suitcase anyway. I was like, all right, done traveling for a while. I was so lucky, honestly. And I got to do a little moderation because there's some mean folks in the house. One second. Oh, Ben's here. Ben's on it. Ben's here on time because Ben rules. Thank you, Ben Coombs. And who else we got here? My thoughts on the katana head. You know, I haven't really played the katanas, to be honest. I've got these headphones, which I have. Oh no, I've got 2 pairs of headphones sitting here, and neither of them are the Boss ones. I have them at home. That's where they are. But they sound great, and I think it's all the same kind of amp models and technology and stuff, and I think they sound really good. But I haven't tried that particular head. I have tried the Next Tone. That's the one. Yeah. So, I'd just like to say that there's somebody mean in here right off the bat that is a loser. So Ben handled it, but somebody named Robert's Guitar Dungeon, and he called me a cock-eyed bastard right out of the gate. So if anybody wants to go visit Robert's Guitar Dungeon and tell him what you think about that, he's a YouTube user. Robert's Guitar Dungeon. What a weirdo. Anyway, fuck that guy. Okay. Who else we got here? Lauren's here. What's up, Lauren? I hope you're feeling better. Lauren was sick. He didn't have the coronavirus, but he's not feeling well, so I hope he's feeling better. We've got. I forgot my reading glasses today, so I'm going to be squinting a little bit. And I got to get the coffee because it's down the hall, and I just heard it finish brewing. 10 seconds. I'll be right back. So I went to the store the other day and I bought some oat milk for creamer for here, which I really like. If nobody's had oat milk yet in their coffee, give it a go because it's good stuff. But I bought the vanilla one. So I'm not a big fan of, when you buy the creamer and it's like, oh, I got the Irish cream or the vanilla instead of plain. Always kind of frustrating. Oh, man, the chat's going fast here. Going fast. So just bear with me here. Pete dropped the F-bomb, says Chris. Oh, I do that a lot. Let's see here. Murray says, I wonder if Robert's Guitar Dungeon got hacked. Oh, that's possible. Maybe it's not really him. Lauren says he's feeling much better. That's good, man. That's good. How to support musicians? That's a great question from Signals. How to support musicians in this time of no work and shows? The best way is if they've got an album out to pick it up. Like if anybody's got a, independent release or something out that you can go grab off of iTunes or CD Baby or whatever, that's a great way. I mean, or either that, or, you know, a lot of people are doing Skype lessons, and it's a great time to take advantage of that opportunity, maybe, you know, to maybe learn some new stuff. And just turn up this light here a little bit. One sec. A little more even light. But yeah, you know, look on Bandcamp. I saw that Bandcamp is actually, if anybody, I don't have an album on Bandcamp, but I thought it was a nice gesture that they're waiving all of their royalties and stuff and giving them all to artists. So Bandcamp is a site that has like, you know, you can release your music through them or whatever. So if you go to their site and they're selling an album for an indie artist or something, they're giving all the money to the, you know, normally they would take a small percentage or something of each sale. But so there's a few things that you can do. Hey Pete, have you ever played Landry Amps? No, but I am familiar with them. They do sound great on like probably for a lot of people. I've heard them on the internet, but they sound really good to me than all the clips that I've heard. Yeah. All right. What's we here? What's we got? Chats will bring America together, says Keating. Yeah, I mean, I think these things are great. Ben's probably got a live stream. The word I was looking for. Sorry, waiting for the coffee to kick in. The coffee to kick in. So he's probably got his live stream tonight, so you guys can go visit that. And I'm sure lots of us are going to be doing these. I mean, I've always done it every week anyway for the past couple of years, but I'm sure there's going to be more of them popping up. If anybody didn't see it, I haven't seen it yet, but evidently it was great because Dave told me it was great. The Tone Talk with Bob Bradshaw. And evidently there wasn't a ton of people watching. Dave said there was only a couple hundred. He thought there was going to be more, but Bob tells his whole story. And Bob's really the guy that invented, when it comes to, like Dave said the other day, well, he really came up with the idea of presets, like, you know, of having, you know, switching systems of any sort, presets. That was really Bob. And really after Pete Cornish, Bob Bradshaw was really the next evolution in guitar pedal board, guitar rig stuff, you know. So go check it out go check out the Tone Talk with Bob Bradshaw, and I'm gonna watch it. I didn't even know they were doing it, so I would have liked to have watched it live, but anyway. Oh, evidently Mark says Robert was, so maybe it's not Robert. Well, sorry, Robert, it's not your fault then, wherever you are out there, but somebody hacked his channel. What a drag, man. YouTube's really like kind of lame with this stuff. Like when it comes to getting your channel hacked and then getting your channel back, you know, being able to contact them and prove that it's your channel and not have it, you know, you got to be careful out there if you have a YouTube channel, because it's like there's all these scams now for, you know, that can really screw you. But anyways, anyone catch Andy Wood's first live stream yesterday? It was a nice surprise. I didn't actually. That's cool. See, he's doing them. There you go. I'm sure he's going to put lots of great stuff out there. Content during these times. I put up a couple videos this week. If people didn't see them, I did one for the Mercurial Euphoria plugin, which is a Bogner Ecstasy style plugin from a company that makes really nice stuff based in Russia. Their plugins are excellent. They just sound really good. I don't know. They do a nice job, and they're really reasonably priced. I think it's $99. They're under $100, and it's a great sounding plugin. All the effects are good, and the cab sims are good and everything. So that's nice. And then sort of branching off that, because I used it to record the bass in the video I did a whole video on I don't know who's interested out there in bass, but I did a video on recording bass and how I approach getting a big rock bass tone. So check it out if you guys haven't seen them. If you're interested, I detail, you know, a method of kind of how I do, and all in the box, so you can do it all using plugins. And if you record, if you use Pro Tools or Logic or something, and you've got an interface and maybe a couple cool plugins, you can tackle this, you know, same sort of method that I use. So yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Ever seen John Shankston's guitar collection in person? John's a really good friend of mine, actually. He's a big part of why I ended up with the Melissa Etheridge gig. He, gave me the nod of approval and recommendation because he was Melissa's. Well, he started out as doing what we all, the guys like me do here in LA, which is sideman sessions and stuff like that. And then he became one of the biggest producers in the world. The guy has over 40 number one hits. Imagine writing 40 songs that went to number one on the Billboard charts. It's unbelievable. So he's had a hell of a career, and he's a bit of an unsung kind of. He's Bon Jovi's producer, and also plays in Bon Jovi now when they tour, along with Phil on guitar. But it's all started out kind of with Melissa, and then as well as with Michelle Branch. She had some big hits when she was like 17 or 18 years old. And John was the one that co-wrote and produced all that stuff. And he was really, like I said, just a guitar player in LA that also wrote songs and stuff and aspired to be a producer. And boy, did he ever. And he's got the guitar bug like nothing you've ever seen. So he, very close to here, where my place is in LA, he used to have a kind of a performance. He had a room at Henson, which is the old A&M studios, always, blocked out there. So in that amazing old studio, he had his own room, which is incredible. And then that's where he recorded a lot of, hits over the years and stuff. But in addition to that, he had, his home, and then also this rehearsal studio out here blocked out. It was like a full big room with drums, bass, guitar, amps set up, but all the way around was guitar cases, all the way around on shelves, and amps all the way around. And it was it was unbelievable, like the stuff that was just in there. And a lot of primo stuff, like, this is one of the first high watts ever made. And this is literally like that, collection of high watts, collection of Marshalls, collection of Vox was absolutely unbelievable. I have one of his AC30s here. The Brian May guitar I have here is his. He lent it to me, and he lent me an AC30 at the same time, and the Cornish treble booster, which is sitting right here. Here, look at this. This is the kind of stuff, like, you'll go over to his place, and he gave me this. These things are $600. And he goes, here, just take this and use it. And this is the double Cornish treble. Look, it says John Shanks on it, see? And then on the back, he's got taped a sixpence for the full Brian May effect. So that's the kind of guitar geek he is, And at the same time, he lent me an AC30 out of a pile of AC30s that he had, literally a pile. There was like 6 of them sitting there or something. He goes, "Oh, take this one. It's just been serviced." And it was it's like a 63. I've got it in the other room. He's a really good friend, actually, and a great guy. And he's the biggest guitar nerd that I've probably ever met. Derek Chapman is up in the top chat, and he says he wants to DI to front of house, no amp and cab. He uses the HX Stomp. Do I FX send to my Revival Drive compact, back to the Helix, then add an IR, or use something else? Yeah. No amp and cab, but you're using an HX Stomp. Do I FX send to my Revival Drive compact, back to the HX, then add an IR, or use something else? Well, you're using an HX Stomp, so there's not a lot of options there for an effects loop, is there? There's no loop, is there, on an HX Stomp? Okay, we have to think about this for a second. What's the best way to use an HX Stomp with a Revival Drive and go direct? There's kind of with an HX Stomp, there's not really a way to do it exactly like what you're saying, because there's no effects send on it. Do I have a Stomp around here? I don't in here right now. You could do it with an HX FX or a regular Helix. You just insert the Revival Drive in one of the loops and then use it as an amp kind of, and you could put effects in front and the IR after and the effects after if you want. No problem if you want to put all your effects like the Stomp in front of the Revival Drive and then just run it like you would an amp with the Stomp in. Yeah, no, you don't need an IR because yes, you do of course you do with the. You know what? Honestly, what I would probably do is come out of the Revival Drive, go into the HX Stomp and use the HX Stomp for reverb and delay and rotary and stuff like that, and only to host an IR. And then I would use in front of the revival drive a couple of pedals that you would run in front of a amp. That's probably the way I would do it if you're dead set on using the HX Stomp. If you can get a different helix or I got to read this other question here for 1 second, so I'll just come back to you in a second because it's going to disappear up here in the live chat. You did the live chat, the top chat thing, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll come back to that in a second. Rico USA is up in the top chat, and he says he owns a 500 Maris Mercury Verb, but can't find another on reverb.com for stereo. Oh, that's interesting. Would you wait for a second, use the pedal version, buy another 500 like Neve AMS, or sell me yours? God, I like mine, and now you're making me think. Okay, so I like mine. I kind of would rather have it in a pedal. Ooh, you're making me kind of like, I might sell you mine. Yeah, because I kind of would almost rather have a pedal version. This is this great reverb that is it's available in pedal format and also available for 500 series, but it's only mono for 500 series. But it's such a space. It was designed to kind of inspiration for it was Blade Runner, huge lush reverb tails that go up for 20 seconds and stuff like that. And they sound amazing, but of course I've only got one, you've only got one, and you know as well as I do that the thing will probably sound best in stereo because of the type of reverb it is, just that incredible soundscapey lush stuff. So I've always wanted another one, but I would probably get more use out of it in pedal format. You're making me think. I don't know, send me an email. You got my email. There's a contact form on my website if you want to send me one. I'll think about it, because maybe it makes more sense for you to have two and me to get a pedal. I don't know. What else are you asking about up there? Buy another 500 like Neve AMS AMX16 or sell me yours. I mean, the only 500 series stuff I've got is the Maris mic pre, which is awesome, the reverb, and then I've got a DBX 160 style. It's called a 166A or 160A compressor, and then a 560 mic pre that I have too, and they're all really cool. But that's what I've got. I don't know. I mean, send me an email about that. So further on the question about the Stomp, yeah. So with the Revival drive and the Stomp, I would probably run the Stomp after, use it for post effects like delay and reverb and stuff, as well as an IR host. And then I would run a pedal or two probably in front of the Revival drive, like if you have a real Phase 90 or a fuzz or something that you want to use in front of a, and have a little pedal board with Revival drive, Stomp, couple of mini pedals maybe, like the Phase 95 or I don't know what, maybe a compressor like the Ego Comp or something, mini pedals or something. And then I'd host the IR on the Stomp. That's how I would do a rig like that. Steven says that he thinks I'm a great player, melodic. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. Chris Cam says, what reverb pedal are we talking about? The Maris Mercury. I think it's called maybe the Mercury 7. If you haven't heard it, go on YouTube and check it out. I did a video. They make it, like I say, in 500 series as well, and they also make it in pedal format. And if you haven't heard it, it's really worth listening to. It's lush and beautiful. It'll do shorter, sort of more normal reverbs too, but that's not its forte. It's the soundscapey stuff that it's really. It sounds amazing. I should use mine more, but I wish I could find I got to contact the company actually, maybe, because I would like to have for mixes and stuff, two in the rack that I could then, have patched out on sends and stuff out of my, do that kind of thing. But, I really dug the Maris Enzo, says T-Mitz. Cool sounds and not too crazy for an analog dude like myself. I haven't tried that one, and they've also got don't they have one called the Auto Bit or something? I haven't tried that one either. So too much gear, so little time. But the stuff that I do have from them is great. I always pump up their mic pre. It's a great, if anybody's got 500 series, their mic pre sounds awesome. It's kind of based on API, I think, but it's got a send and return on it that's pedal level. So if you want to put like a flange or like an electric mistress on a vocal, or you run a mic into it, and anything you mic, you can run a pedal on. It's pretty neat, I think. Oh, somebody's up there in the top chat. They're in the UK for coffee or beer. Thanks, man. That's Rory. Oh, no, he's not in the UK. He's in Ireland. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. I do. Cheers. Thank you, my friend. You're a good man. Digging the Star Trek haircut. You know what it is? It's like I had that other haircut, which was kind of short and just my Britpop haircut. And it's still sort of that, but I want to grow it. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it in the interim. So it was like I had to go and get it shaped up a little bit. It actually looks, I think it looks all right now. There's a short bit right here that's making me look like I got a bald spot, but I don't. It's just it's cut way back right here. So it's going to grow. I don't know why though. Girl that cut my hair. I don't have COVID-19. Girl that cut my hair, put this little short bit in. Drive me crazy. It'll grow up. Hopefully. Okay. What's this? Murray says drives, then rev drive, then HX stomp with IR only, and then your delay and reverb. Early on, then your delay and reverb. Yeah, you could do it that way. That sounds good. Or you could just use the delay and reverb in the HX stomp. And you can run the delay experiment if you do the delay and reverb in the HX stomp with running it before the IR or running it after the IR, because they can both be cool. And you might be surprised actually with how little difference it makes, to be honest, but or not, depending on the sound. Love the Maris, says Mike, got the pedal after hearing Pete's demo. Yeah, I really want the pedal as well. The Maris Mercury Oscillation Overdrive was also asking about what reverb. The Maris Mercury 7. Let's see here. Illuminate X says, did Brian use a flanger so that it didn't get such a hard whoosh tone? On my Mustang has a flanger effect, but since I can't adjust its speed. You can't adjust the speed? So like a little Fender Mustang modeling amp? Flangers are weird, man. I don't know if you guys have found this, but they're all very unique sounding. Like, for instance, I find choruses to be sort of samey. You get a chorus, nice analog chorus. It's a Boss, it's an Ibanez, whatever, from back in the day, or, whatever. Maybe that's just me being, especially if it's a slow kind of or slowish chorus. It's like there's less flangers is this huge bit, like the ADA Jet flanger or the Electric Mistress or they all sound like markedly different. Maybe it's just something to do with when you hear the modulation more because it's a shorter delay time with a flanger than a chorus. Flanging's generally like, I think the delay, somebody out there probably correct me, but I don't know, like 2 to 5 or 8 milliseconds or something for flanging. And then when the delay times get a little longer, like 8, 10, 12, 14 milliseconds or whatever. Because essentially what you're doing is a flanger or a chorus. It's just a short delay, and then you modulate the delayed sound only. And short sounds like flange, a little bit longer sounds like chorus. Maybe it's something to do with when you've got a shorter delay time, it makes a more dramatic effect because it's getting closer to the original part in time, and then you hear the swooping more, and it's swooping. Somebody's up there in the. I don't know what to say to the guy with the Mustang that doesn't have the speed. Basically, I'm saying you're sort of stuck with the sound if you can't adjust the speed. It's just kind of a set flanger. But what you will notice as you try more flangers, they all sound different. You got to kind of try and find the one that you like. Electric Mistress is a little more watery and chorusy or something, and then like the ADA Jet flanger really has that, jet flange sort of sound, a little bit more like. I wonder, anybody out there know what the flange is on Barracuda? I'd love to know if anybody knows the history by heart. 2 + 2 = 5 is up in the top chat. Thanks, man. He says, I've been a fan of your videos since Comet Amp demo way back in the day. That was really the first video I think I ever did for it wasn't even like, it was just like, here's this amp. I just got the studio stuff. Let's plug in and crank it up and play a few licks. Oh, I'll throw it up on YouTube. I didn't know what I was doing, but I do think it sounds good. Yeah. And I still have my Comets, one of them, not the one that's in the videos, actually. I have another one sitting right there. That's the Comet from back in the day. And a great sounding amplifier. And Lyle Workman actually has my one that was in the videos now. I sold it to him because I had two, and it was like, do I really need two? It's kind of extravagant. But I love Hoagie, the guy from Comet Amps. He's a great guy. Just a really, really nice guy. Pleasure to talk to about guitars and amps, and he's a wealth of knowledge. And if anybody's ever met him, they'll know what I'm talking about. And they make great amplifiers, just really juicy, touch sensitive. You plug in, and on the first note, you're like, oh, this is special. I'm a big fan of the Comet stuff. And I almost feel like I let them down or something, to be honest, because like I was using his amps quite a bit, and then I was becoming friends with John Sir, and then we developed the PT amp, and it was like I was playing a lot of divided by amps, divided by 13, as well as the Comets, and I was friends with Fred from Divided by as well. And then you sort of go a different way or whatever and start using someone else's stuff, and I feel bad because these guys are like they make awesome stuff. They don't make great stuff. They make awesome stuff. I just ended up going in a different direction. For what I was using live mainly, at least, but I still loved those amplifiers, the Divided by and the Comet, and it was just made more sense for me to use one amp with some channel switching as opposed to I had 3 heads on the road with 3 cabinets. It was just all this stuff. It was crazy, so much stuff. So, but anyways, doesn't diminish how great those amplifiers are. The Comets and stuff. What are my thoughts on the new Ombre Amp, says John. It's a nice segue there into, I haven't tried it, to be honest. So John's always got one sitting on his bench and stuff, and they're frantically like, I think they had the one done for NAMM or a couple done for NAMM. And long story short, I just haven't had like a working one anytime I've been out there where I can plug into it and try it. But the video they made sounds pretty good. I told John, get me one and I'll make you a video where I'll play like a ZZ track. I want to like bust out a Les Paul, and because he's a huge fan of the first 2 ZZ Top albums, and of Billy's tone. John's favorite guitar players are Leslie West, I would say, and he loves Pat Thrall, and he loves Billy Gibbons, the early stuff, and obviously with Leslie and Billy Gibbons, there's a sort of lineage there with the kind of raw Les Paul into an amp that everybody thought was a Marshall, but the brown fenders are kind of the dirtiest things they ever made. And so anyway, he always loved that tone. He made one. It sounds great. But I haven't personally tried it, but it sounds great to me in the clips I've heard and stuff. That's all I can say. I can't wait to try one. I know it sounds good. I already know what it sounds like, from listening to those ZZ Top records and stuff. Because that's supposedly what Billy used on the first 2 ZZ Top, was one of those. And I could kind of hear that. When I go back and I listen to the records now, there's a looseness to it and a mid-ranginess to it that doesn't sound like a Marshall stack to me or something if I listen to it. Marshall's got that drier kind of, I don't know. The tone sounds more like, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just, talking after the fact. I was playing my Hedgehog yesterday up there, and that thing, man, for those that haven't tried that, that's another terrific, it's got a great sound. I need to do more with it, actually. The overdrive circuit on it's wonderful. It's this kind of dumbly thing. And it's so different, actually, than anything else I have in here with. It's kind of smoother. It's smooth and fat, but yet it's still really tight, the drive on a Hedgehog. It's just warmer on the top end. Big, fat single notes. Moving down in the chat. Sorry, I've been waxing on and on and on about things. So if I haven't answered your question, please type it again. I'll address it. Well, here's some interesting stuff. This is why I love this place. Michael's in the chat here, and he says, what I found in 1976, Roger Fisher asked Hart equipment tech Rick Erickson to build an electronic flanging effect based on a circuit that was originally featured in Popular Electronics. How interesting. So that's some great info that I never would have. See, I would have thought somebody would have said, "Oh, it's an MXR or something," but no, there's more to it. So maybe it's like a really unique, because it's always tough for me to get that sound. And I love that guitar sound I love, by the way, just in general, the Hart records from that era. They sound incredible. That 70s Hart stuff. They worked at a studio in Vancouver called Mushroom. And to me, it's just like when recording was really coming into its own, you know, like the recording studios and stuff in the mid 70s, early 70s, mid 70s, late 70s, like music started sounding, recorded music, just not that, I mean, there was great stuff in the 60s, but it was more, it's got that certain 60s character. Capturing music and a band, you know, there was enough tracks like to be a little bit more creative without having to stack up things. And, you know, it's a little more lo-fi no matter what. When you listen to, say, the Beatles or whatever stuff from the 60s, it's got a great quality to it and a timeless, amazing quality, but it doesn't sound like friggin' Steely Dan or whatever. Not that it ever should, but you know what I mean? And so the Heart records, as far as like rock and roll coming, you know, being able to record rock and roll and get this really amazing, warm sound with a lot of depth and stuff like that, that Heart really achieved that, I think. I love all that, you know, I don't know, just the drums and the guitar and the bass and how they all meld together on those records sound great. And of course, the vocals are incredible. Hey, Pete, do you use a treble bleed in your guitar? Yeah, same as generally speaking on my Sirs. They all have the standard Sir treble bleed circuit, which is great. So, you know, it's a cap and a resistor tied together, and they sort of perfected that a long time ago. Whatever they use always sounds great to me. I don't even think about it, to be honest. Just the roll down sounds perfect. Sounds the same as when the guitar is on 10, basically. Yeah. Anybody tried making your own pedals, says Stealth Parrot? I want to try this. No, I don't have the patience. I'm too crappy with a soldering iron. I would just burn myself. You know, one thing I would like to do is take that Bruce Egnater amp course. You know how he does that, like where you can make an amp, go to his, I think he's in Michigan somewhere, and you go to his place and it's like a camp over the weekend, and he shows you how to build an amp, and you end up with an amp at the end of it. I would love to do that so that I could understand more, because since I have my own couple signature amps and stuff, and when John's talking to me about, you know, this resistor or that capacitor and this stage where this is a divider and all that, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I just know what it sounds like. I would love to have a little bit more knowledge, you know, in kind of the nitty gritty. I mean, I understand the basics of a, you know, the preamp and the rectifier and the power section and output transformer and a power transformer and the voltages and the B plus and like a little bit of like, you know, whatever. I get some things, but I don't, as soon as you start talking about the different stages, and you've lost me, you know, it gets a little deeper. Maybe one of these days when we can all travel and do things again, I will, I'll do that. Okay. Somebody's written in, I haven't been doing my, hiragana and katakana practice, and somebody's written in hiragana and a little bit kanji, and there's no way I'm going to be able to read it right now. I'm sorry. Gomen nasai. Gomen nasai. My friend did the Egnater course. He built a 50-watt plexi, says says Mr. Rossum. Did he like it? Did he get a lot out of it? I'd love to know his thoughts on it, because I've thought about doing it a number of times. I think it'd be a really cool weekend. Can you do a live walkthrough of your pedal board in this live format so we could ask questions? I could. I don't have it here right now. I'm waiting for it to get back here, actually, and I'm hoping there's no problems with shipping and stuff right now with all the craziness. But it's on its way here. Maybe next week or something. If it shows up this week, we could do that. Sure. Absolutely. Rhett Shull just built an overdrive. That's interesting. I wonder what kind he built. I'm doing a video right now, guys, by the way, speaking of overdrives. I'm thinking about this pedal. Look at it. It's on and it's blinking. This is the Revival drive. Revival Trem from Origin Effects. But I almost feel like they've done themselves a disservice, because yes, it's a trem and it's blinking, but check this out. When you do this, see the red light still on? The pedal's on. It's got this circuit active up here, which is a volume, tone, and drive. It's an overdrive too, and it's an incredible sounding overdrive. So I almost think they should call it the Revival Drive Trem or something. Trem Drive. That's pretty good. Revival Trem Drive. Because it's really got a great overdrive circuit in it, which you're going to hear in the video I am making now for it. And it has their post-drive EQ thing here, just like on the regular Revival drive, where you flip the switch right here to 3 positions, and you can run it either into a it's kind of a flat amp or an amp with a bright cap or a darker amp, and then it's got this contour knob right here. So you can kind of tune the drive to whatever amp you're plugging it into, and it works beautifully. I mean, whether I've got it plugged into, my little Princeton over here, which is what I did most of the demo with so far, then I'm going to use my either PT15 or Plexi or something back there to do the solo, I think, and use the drive to sort of boost the amp. So get a crunchy amp and then, that kind of thing. But anyway, great sounding pedal. Really, really nice tremolo, but also incredible sounding overdrive. Really, really nice. They're good company, those Origin folks. Yeah. Okay, moving down a little bit here. I built a brown note ODS style amp, says Mike. That's cool. Came out great. A lot of work. Was it? I bet it was. But you probably learned so much, right? I mean, man, I'd love to just get some better soldering skills. Royal Oak, Michigan is where the Igniter class is. Says, God, my eyes, man. Says Robin. Thanks, Robin. I think it'd be really fun to do. I like Bruce a lot too. He's a great guy. Really nice dude. So Ben Coombs says, welcome all joining late, and I concur. Thanks, Ben, for saying that. And I nice to have all you folks here. I joined late. I got here late. And so let's just all relish and enjoy the lateness. Revel in our lateness. Revel? Relish? I don't know. Relish. Makes me want a hot dog. What else we got here? Looking for questions. Mojotone does an amp build class also, says Sammy. That's cool. I don't know those guys though, and I'd love to do Bruce's just because I know him. He's a over the years we've talked about pedals and all kinds of stuff, and I see him at NAMM, and I just like him. He's a cool guy. Like the bass video, says Jasmine. Thank you. Yeah, it's not getting tons of views. Share it with your bass player friends, please. I guess most of my viewers are guitar players, and they're probably like, oh, I don't want to watch that. Bass? That's boring. 4 strings? Those guys don't even play chords. No, I love playing the bass, and I enjoy it. But trying to widen the appeal of the channel a little bit. Maybe I should just start a bass playlist. Put all the bass videos in one playlist. The company recently actually just asked me to make another video for a bass product, so maybe that's a good idea. Just have a separate playlist or something. I'm not really a bass player, so for some of these things, I also like to have my my bass player friends come over. Like when my buddy John Button came over to help me with the Geddy Lee preamp video. The hiccups. But yeah. Okay. Any fuzz pedal that uses germanium transistors usually doesn't react well with a buffer before it, says Harley. That's absolutely true. That is true. Somebody's saying I missed Derek's follow-up super chat. HX Stomp has an FX loop. Mono out of stereo return. Does it? I don't even know that. To me, it just looks like two ins and outs. So you guys teach me things all the time. I mean, I have one, but okay. If it's got a loop, then is it a mono out of stereo return? Do you end up with the ability to go stereo out of it at that? I guess that doesn't really matter. I mean, if you can use I didn't know that. I guess it's probably got those outputs and inputs that you can configure a certain way. So you've got an input loop and an output, right? That would make sense. Well, if you can do that, then yeah, put the revival drive in and use it in a loop like that. See, I didn't even know that. He's asking me, oh, what do you guys watch me for? I don't even know what I'm talking about sometimes. I have one, but I didn't even know that. Mine is also on the way back from Europe in a case somewhere, probably sitting on the docks in Liverpool or somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic on a plane or something. Do I like Hank Marvin in the Shadows? I find Hank Marvin fascinating because Hank Marvin, one of the first guys in England to get a Strat, evidently, that red Strat, is basically like surf music to me. And it's like, how did, the Shadows, it's like, it's almost like maybe he inspired all the surf guys to do surf music. I don't know, because he was kind of before it, wasn't he? Like, really, I don't know, kind of interesting. Did they just steal his thing? That kind of sound, you know? But yeah, I do like him, you know? I don't know much about him, to be honest. Like, it's not like I've listened to a ton of Hank Marvin, but a while ago I did a pedal for a pedal. I did a video for a pedal. I think it was for AC30 pedal and Wampler, and I played some Hank Marvin. I went and listened to some Hank Marvin because I knew he was also one of the first guys using one of those amps, and I wanted to kind of do a Hank Marvin-y thing. So I went and researched and listened a little bit, and I was like, this is surf music. Before surf was surf. So all right. Somebody says, you had her have a Strat with a humbucker pickup. No name was on the headstock. It had a nice flame neck. You used it in your video with Papa Stash. What kind of guitar was that? I'll get it. It's right out here, so we can look at it. Okay. So this guitar is a Partzicaster, and I bought it off eBay, and it's pretty badass looking, right? I mean, come on, it's cool. It's just cool. And the deal with it is that it's all the Van Halen-y parts. Like, I can't remember if it's a Musicraft neck and a Can-E body, or a Can-E neck and a Musicraft body. I can't remember. The guy said in the original eBay ad. But anyway, it's the Frankenstein body. So it's hard. It's ash, as you can see by the grain. That hard ash. It's quite heavy. And it's got the crazy Van Halen cutout and everything, if I was to take the pickguard off. And then this, you know, neck that looks like, you know, the Frankie kind of neck or whatever. Old Floyd Rose from the 80s. And it's got a great pickup in it, which is a Motor City second degree black belt, which does great kind of hot PA off Van Halen-y stuff. And the deal with the guitar is that the guy that made it wanted to make kind of a Van Halen inspired guitar, Super Strat, but he didn't want to paint it like Van Halen's. He wanted to paint it like Blackie. So evidently he copied, no, I haven't really looked, but he copied the wear of Blackie, evidently. I didn't know that Clapton's Blackie was this beat up, but it looks badass nonetheless. I love the relicking that he did on it. It looks pretty legit. And it was like, I don't know, $900 or $1,000 or something like that. It wasn't super cheap, but it wasn't super expensive either. And I just hit the buy now. I was like, that's cool. It's a Van Halen guitar that doesn't look like, you know, you can take it on stage and play and not be like, oh, he's playing Eddie's striped guitar or whatever, because that's Eddie's thing. So I love it with the tortoise shell on the black. And what do you think? Should I change the knob and put a black one on? I don't know about the white knob. I've often thought about that. Maybe that's got to go. Just put a black knob on it, or a cream at least. Well, it's kind of cream. But anyway, that's the guitar. It's just a kit guitar made out of, you know, I think it's Musicraft neck Can-E body. I think that's what it is. And I met the guy once, actually. He came up to me at NAMM and said, hey, I built that guitar you bought off eBay, you know? And I was like, ah, dude. And we had a good chat for a minute at NAMM. Yeah. When I got it, the nut was really high, and I had to actually have a tech lower the, you know, I think he actually had to shave a little bit of wood under the Floyd nut to get it, because it didn't play that good when I got it. And so I had a guy go over it and stuff. But now it's great, and it sounds like no other guitar I have. It's very aggressive sounding. At the top end, you know, I guess it's the hard ash maple fingerboard and this pickup with the Floyd, and it really sounds like Ed. I mean, if you watch any of the videos I've done with it, I used it in the BE Overdrive video. That's a good one to hear the tone. I used it in the MXR chorus video where I think I played Pretty Woman on it. And you can hear it and just hear the tone in those videos of that guitar where it's got this kind of spanky top end that's really aggressive. I'd love to try putting a super distortion in it and see if it's even closer to the Van Halen 1 thing. But that pickup, as for an all-rounders, sounds fantastic. And that I don't want to touch it, because it just, for that thing, it's awesome. That guitar just stays in E flat with 9s on it, and it's that thing. So Arturo is in the super chat. Thanks, man. And he says, any advice on approaching a local artist you admire and would like to work with as a guitarist? I like your moxie. It's good. Seems like there's a fine line between building relationship and looking desperate. I think being honest is the best approach. Like saying, approaching them and saying, I mean, hey, I told John Mayer a while ago that I was like, hey man, you ever need a guitar player? I know this guy on YouTube that makes videos and stuff, and he's pretty good. It was like a text chat, and he was like, LOL or whatever. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. But you got to put it out there sometimes. Like if you're like, it's like, hey, I'd love to work with you sometime. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, of just being honest, just saying, hey, I really like your music. I like what you do. I'm a musician. If you ever are in need or interest, please don't hesitate to give me a call, or here's my email or whatever. And hope I'm not imposing, but just I'm really a fan of what you do. I'd love to have the chance at some point, if it ever comes up, something like that. Honesty, and people love to, in that moment, they're not going to be like, why is this guy approaching me? They're going to be like, oh, that's nice. Somebody likes my music. I mean, everybody likes to get their ego stroked a little bit, right? So if you're just honest about your that you admire what they do and stuff, I think it can't hurt. That's for sure. And maybe it'll turn into something. And thank you for doing the super chat. I appreciate that, and best of luck with it. I hope it goes somewhere. I'll tell you, one of the first gigs I ever got, now that I think about it, and we didn't end up ever doing anything, but it looked like we were going to for a minute, was Jennifer Batten. So Jennifer this is 1990. She's right off of the Michael Jackson, I guess Victory, and Bad was a couple years before that and stuff. So she was a really, really big name, and kind of guitar hero, one of the people. And she was a teacher at MI, and I used to go hang with her all the time, and I would sit in her class or open counseling and stuff, and sit with her. And I worked really hard on everything she showed me. And so I was like trying to do the 8-finger tapping back then and all that stuff. And I was really practicing hard, and she could tell I was like really eager and stuff, and just really wanted to learn. And I can't remember if I ever brought it up, but she was like, I think she was probably at some point said, like, yeah, I'm going to do this band or whatever. Because I was probably like, what are you doing next? What's your thing? And she had the, record deal and Relativity, was going to put a band together with a singer and stuff, and needed to put a band together. I ascertained, I was able to figure that out. And I was just like, hey, if you ever need somebody, like, I probably said it, like as a 19-year-old kid, just very eager, like, I love what you do. I don't know what I would have said, but I said something. And she, whatever. And then like a month or two went by. And one day she was doing her open counseling. And as usual, I showed up early and was the first one in there, and was sitting there warming up before she got there. And she walked in the room, and it was just her and me. And she said, hey, so, after school, what are you doing? Let's do this thing. I want you to, and I was like, awesome. And I did it just through being, like, I always say, it's like, I don't know. It's what I just said. It's like, you want to show them that you're eager and into it, and, that you've got a passion for it, and that you care, and that you're into their thing. And so by showing up early, and by maybe putting it out there, but not being pushy, and then just showing up and being like always there, you get offered jobs that way. That's just how it's like with anything, it's like, who wouldn't want to work with somebody that was obviously into their thing and putting the effort out there, and obviously, not without being pushy, like I say, so I always remember that. Now we never ended up doing anything. We rehearsed a couple times. I remember the drummer was Ray Luzier, who's in Cornell. He's amazing. And it just, I don't know, they put a record out and there was no tour or anything. Nothing ended up happening that I would have been involved in. So that's the way that went. But she did ask me to do it, and we did go jam a few times and stuff. And then it just kind of petered out after that. But I love Jennifer. I still see her sometimes. I see her at NAMM and stuff, and with email, she'll ask me some gear questions sometimes. Have you tried this model or thing or this, and so even all these years, it's 30 years ago, and we still talk sometimes. It's great. I've got a lot of respect for her. She had a long career. Okay. Hey Pete, my drum skills are limited. Me too, man. I can't drum. What drum software would you recommend outside of Logic and GarageBand? The one I'm using the most these days that I recommend the most is really Superior or Superior Drummer 3 or Easy Drummer 2. Maybe start with Easy Drummer 2. It's pretty fantastic. I show it in my clinics that I do and stuff, and how to use it. I show it in like 5 or 10 minutes, as much as I can in that amount of time, and people tend to get it. It's really easy to use, and the sounds are great. It's just a really easy program to kind of tackle. I like Steven Slate drums a lot, but it's more time consuming, I find. You have to there's not as many grooves in it. You got to sort of sift through the grooves and stuff. The Tune Track guys, first of all, one of the things I really love about Tune Track and Easy Drummer 2 and Superior Drummer 2 is buying the software, downloading it, and registering it. They're the best company out there. They've got this Tune Track, whatever, like manager thing. It's an app that you download on or whatever on your computer, and it manages all the software. If there's any updates, you just open the app and it tells you there's an update. Do you want to install it? Yes, you do it. Boom, no problems, no friggin' iLock. Like, I don't know, does it use iLock? I don't think it uses iLock. It like registers to your computer and it just knows. Anyway, it's the easiest software to buy, download, authorize, and then not have screw up. You don't have to have I hate iLocks, and I hate the whole software registration process and stuff. UA is great too, because you got to have their interface. It's like a big dongle basically, but it works awesome because it just does. I don't know. It's anybody that's got UA will attest, I'm sure, that buying things, authorizing them, and then it's just a seamless process. So a lot of companies, it's just a pain in the ass. Serial numbers and challenge response things and emails and that get thrown in your junk folder and you can't find them. And then you've bought something on a weekend and you can't get any customer support, all that crap. Tune Track works great. So Easy Drummer 2, Superior, easy to install, great sounds, the grooves. There's tons of grooves built in. And this is where, like with the Slate stuff, that I find that it's like there is a groove thing built in, but it's not, you'll see what I mean if you get the software. It's just like the ability to tap in a groove in the Tune Track stuff and then have it spit out a bunch of like, here's grooves 94% the same as what you just, tapped in or whatever. You can just easily put together and assemble a song very quickly using either Superior or Easy Drummer 2. And then just the sound of the kits and everything is awesome. So that's what you hear on most of my videos for the last probably year and a half. Not dissing any other company. Certainly I used Slate for a long time. I mean, the whole Guitar Nerd record is Steven Slate Drums 3, I think, except for 3 songs or there's live drums or whatever. I use the drums a lot. It's just a little bit more time consuming. When I use Steven Slate, I bust them out across like 7 faders. So you got kick, snare, hat, toms, overheads, room, all that across in Logic. And then I use other plugins to compress and do things across, and if you spend a lot of time on it, it's sophisticated and you can get a really great, very realistic drum sound. The Tune Track stuff and the Superior Drummer stuff, they kind of do that all in the plugin. So you can just use a stereo. You can do the same thing if you want in your DAW to bust it out across a bunch of faders and then use whatever plugins you want. But you can also just use a stereo version of the plugin. Then within the plugin, there's individual faders and mixer and stuff, and with compression and EQ and different effects. I don't want to sound like I'm dissing Steven stuff, because I'm not. I love the guy, and actually the product's great and it's awesome. It's just a little different stuff, and it's maybe geared a little bit more towards somebody that wants to do that stuff, break it out across 7 faders and do their own thing and stuff, and maybe program the drums perfectly and stuff. It's just a little bit of a different program. Hope that makes sense. What else we got here? Dylan says, thanks, Pete. I'm moving over to Windows Base. Easy Drummer sounds good. Now I just need to figure out which DAW to use. Yeah, Windows. I'm not a Windows guy, so I don't know what works best for Windows, but there's got to be a lot of info out there. People experienced with it. Studio One, says Lauren, and he's a good resource. Lauren's a good guy to ask. Elscott Music is really stable on Windows and is a great DAW. Studio One, check that out. Somebody else is recommending Addictive Drums 2. I haven't downloaded and tried Addictive, but I know a lot of people like it too. SSD 5 update is much better, says Tony. That's Steven Slate Drums 5. I do have that. I haven't set it up completely. And yeah. Okay. But it is cool. I like the sound. I'm a big fan of the Steven Slate stuff. Some of the kits in it are incredible sounding, especially the Zeppelin stuff. God, I love those kits that they did. It's the bottom. There's like 3 different eras of Zeppelin kits, and they're really cool sounding. What's the best chorus pedal, says Jay? Well, best for, it depends what you want to do. Probably in many ways, I mean, and one of the coolest is the Alexa as far as an analog chorus. Pretty incredible pedal that Kevin Sir designed with 2 different, you just get 2 different sets of identical sets of controls. So you can get a fast chorus and like a rotary sounding one, and then a slow one, it's a little more mellow or something. And it's got, so it's a very sophisticated, awesome sounding analog delay. One of the things that's awesome about the Alexa is that the headroom that's built into it is awesome. A lot of chorus pedals you're going to try and find, like, where's the fuzz box? What's going on? Like, did anybody experience that where they buy a chorus, you want a crystalline kind of awesome clean sound? And especially even with humbuckers or something, if middle position a Les Paul and you're playing the chorus pedal, only when you turn on the chorus pedal, it sounds like it's distorting. Like, where's the distortion coming from? It's because they don't make chips the way that they used to. Some of the original analog chips aren't available anymore, and the replacements, they just don't have the headroom. And so you have to do this stuff where you drop the gain and then make it up after and all this different stuff. So Kevin Sir really spent a long time with the Alexa, making sure that there's enough headroom in it, that it doesn't get that distortion. Because I found that with a lot of, otherwise nice sounding analog chorus pedals. Anybody else discover that, where you turn it on, it's like, God, it's clipping. There's distortion in the sound, which is the last thing you want sometimes when you want a, arpeggiated, beautiful sort of chorus sound. So, now for other types of choruses, I mean, I love the old, the Landau, the Aryan or whatever is a great thing. Anodyne chorus from Providence it's just mono, but it's really good sounding. I did a video of it a number of years ago, and it's probably 5 years ago or whatever. That pedal sounds amazing. The Anodyne, it's blue pedal from Providence. What else comes to mind for chorus pedals? I don't know. That's it, really. That's all I'm thinking of right now. I mean, there's just so many out there. I'm sure there's a ton of. I love the Dimension, which isn't technically, I guess. I mean, it's basically chorus, right? The Boss Waza Dimension pedal, really good sounding. I did a video of that where I did the Steve Stevens Flesh for Fantasy thing, and you can check that out on YouTube if you like. But it's a really good sounding pedal too. Bonehead Simple. It's 4 buttons. What else we got here? That reminds me, I got to reload all my Waves plugins, says Ethan. Ethan Ricks. What's up, man? How are you? Yeah, the Waves plugin. Waves is, I like Waves, and I like some of their plugins. They make some great plugins, but they're one of the ones where you got to send the fucking plugin, excuse my language, to the cloud and all that when you want to use a different computer. The license, they've got this license thing, and then their Waves update plan and all that. I don't know. I like some of their plugins. They sound great. It's not that. It's like the whole, once I buy it, then maybe 2 years later, in order to get an update, I need to pay more and all that stuff. Yeah, come on. I don't like that. So, I don't know. Not really a fan of all that. It's so important that stuff is easy. Yeah, no iLock on Easy Drummer, says Adam. That's right. You don't need iLock. It's just register your computer. It's really cool and agreed. He says, yeah, it's. I love their whole software. The Tune Track company that just really got that. We don't want to like do, I've just been thinking about this recently. Like, I'm sure everybody out there will agree with me. Basically, as guitar players, we don't want to spend all this learning curve time registering and installing and then learning things. It's like, the easier you can make something to use, it's so important. Just make the damn thing sound good and work and be an easy tool to use out of the box, like relatively within, if it's difficult and I got to do all this stuff, I feel like my life's slipping away from me as I get older. I've got a pedal here in particular. I'm not even going to name it, but it's a demo I'm supposed to make. And it's one of those ones that I just might not do, actually, because it's so damn difficult to get it up and running that I feel like I don't want to spend 3 days learning how to use this thing. I don't have time, and I'm losing interest, so I'm not going to name names, but as usual, I just sometimes choose to not do things, Yeah. Harley says, Pete Thorn, go figure, bare knuckle doesn't make that pickup anymore. Sorry, it's not I think you were talking about the pickup in my black guitar that I was showing earlier. This one. It's a Motor City pickup called the second degree black belt, not a bare knuckle. So if that's the one that you meant, I'm assuming, because that's the only pickup I've talked about today. Yeah. US Blues says, I think talking about maybe when I was discussing the Jennifer Batten band thing, it says you opened the way to opportunity. Yeah, sometimes you have to, my ultimate demonstration of that isn't me, but it's Brian Ray, who saw Abe Laboriel Jr. at a party and mentioned to him, like, hey, you're playing with Paul McCartney, and they were talking about it, and he's like, so what are you guys doing for a bass player, second guitar player? He just posed that question, and Abe was like, well, actually, yeah, we're going to be looking for somebody. And maybe Abe didn't think of Brian as a bass player or something, I don't know, but Brian's like, hey, and Abe was like, oh yeah, well, I'll put your name in there, and then he got the gig. Sometimes you have to, there's little moments in life where you can open a door to a whole new future for yourself if you just see the potential for that happening. And they happen often, and they can pass you by, like pretty regularly if you don't. One of the things I always regret, and I was thinking about it yesterday, was not ever doing any kind of writing with Chris Cornell. Like over the years, there's many times where he was working at home. I should have posed the question to him, like, hey, would you ever want to work on a track together? Because I knew he liked some of the stuff, like, for instance, that I do on YouTube, where he'd listen and go, that sounds awesome, or what, like something. And he would sometimes give me little compliments with and sometimes you just ask about the drum sounds or whatever. But he would often do that. And I should have said, do you ever want to do it? Why don't I just ever say, like, do you ever want to do a track together? Just over email or something. We could experiment. I'll just, he could have said no, oh, I just kind of like writing by myself or whatever. I never posed the question though. And he wouldn't have been offended by that, I should have, should have done that. I did do some stuff with him where I was like, I produced a couple tracks and things where it was like, I was putting things together. There's one in particular that someday I'll tell the story that I can't really talk about right now, but you guys will freak when if I told you right now what exactly happened, because it's a crazy story. I'm not going to tell it right now. I have to stop myself. But someday I'll tell the story. But it was a collaboration with another artist and stuff like that. And it was really amazing. Never came to fruition, but I tried really hard to make it happen. But that was one of those things where I kind of put it out there, and then it all started coming together, and it was like, oh my God, I think this is actually going to happen. It didn't end up happening, but it was close. It's a cool story. I'll tell it another time. But yeah, these things, these little opportunities, they come up, and you got to grab them when they do. Peter, we're going to hear that SLO that was in your shelf in some upcoming videos, says Matthias. I think it's Matthias, right? Sorry. I was thinking Matthias Sasato, and I get, it's Matthias, right? The way you spell it. It wasn't mine. It was just around here in the studio, and I tried it for a minute, and it's awesome. Actually, I really like the way it sounds. I walked away thinking I would like to have one of these. Actually, it would be a nice addition to my, it's a different sound, and it does sound great. And it was a new one, so it was the one of the new that are, I don't know if they're out yet or have been formally released or what's happening with them, but it was one of the new ones, because I know Avi and I know the boutique folks and stuff like that. So one was around, and I had a chance to check it out. Really cool sounding. Viciously loud too. They're really, really loud, but great sounding amp. And I would like to, I think maybe I'll get one sometime just for the studio to have a few different high gain options. One of the things I did actually was I have the SLO module over there in my, right there in my Synergy one rack space thing. And I tried to match the tone to the real head. And I got pretty close, but not exact. It does sound really close. And I think the power section with the 5881s and all that in the head is a really important part of that Soldano sound, you know. Closest that I got was actually into the Sir Hedgehog up there using the 26L6, you know, which makes sense but that amp's got 6L6s, not 5881s, and they do sound a little different. So it's like, I'd love to know how close I could get with actual 5881s. But anyway, geeky stuff. Pretty close that, but there is this authority and punch and like clarity to the head all in one. It's a good thing, you know. I could see how the tone might, after a while, if it was your only guitar sound, might be a little grating or aggressive. It's got a quality to it. It's kind of like I use that fine grain distortion versus big grain distortion, you know. It's kind of more that big grain distortion. And then my amp, for example, the PT15, in comparison, when I would switch back and forth, my amp's got a sweeter thing to the, you know, smooth, like it's a little smoother, sweeter throughout the mids or something. Like maybe a little bit easier on the ears over the long haul, I would say. But there is a viciousness to the SLO that could be a cool, you know, I think combined with either a plexi or maybe my PT100 or PT15 or something like in a track, maybe panned left and right, or maybe both amps track together and a doubles, you know, one side, you know what I'm getting at. Could be a cool thing. Yeah. So maybe someday I'll get one, and you know, maybe someday in the not too distant future, and just have it in my rack for studio stuff. But pretty cool. Yeah. Lauren gives good advice here. He says, don't be afraid to ask, but always gracefully accept the answer. Agreed. Yeah. Sometimes the answer changes for the better if you do. If you don't, it never changes. It's very profound, actually. I think that's great advice. So, yeah. Okay. I want to play and write songs with humans, damn it. I can't hear. My knees hurt, says. I don't know what you mean. You can't hear? Why? You got, do you have some hearing damage? I wonder if that's what you mean, like literally. You've got, that's too bad. If so, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you going to review the Revival Drive Hot Rod Edition? I would like to, because is it like, I think I heard about that pedal. It's like a hotter version of the Revival Drive, right? A little more like modded plexi. I'd love to try it, actually, because the Revival Drive is a little bit more of a low gain affair, like plexi-ish. JTM 45 meets plexi, not low gain, but medium gain, right? Are you still using the regular one? I don't use it. I have it. I don't necessarily use it. I would use it if I needed, you know, a plexi type. But of course, I've got the main squeeze for me lately is the PT15, which I have here and also on the road, and it's got that sound built in. So, you know, if you've got an amp with a great overdrive channel, you don't really, you know. Truth be told, I mean, with a PT15 with a few pedals, it's like I could probably play the rest of my career, you know. It's all gravy, but it is a terrific, awesome thing, you know, the Revival Drive. Just a great pedal. If you've got a Fender or a Vox or something, you need to Marshall it up. It's pretty amazing. Okay. So, was it with Prince, says Arthur? No, I got a few friends with great Prince stories. My friend Tommy Black jammed with Prince once, you know, where he'd show up at a club and then get up on stage and just decide he was going to play, you know. But he kicked everybody else off the stage, I think, except for my friend Tommy, who played bass. So Tommy was pretty stoked at that. Prince played drums, I think. Yeah. Okay. In your studio more, do you use mics more or DI? You know, both. Lately, for whatever reason, I mean, I kind of know the reason, but I got this great blackback loaded, 1978 blackback 1968 cabinet that I've got mic'd up in the other room. And I just kind of use it all the time lately because I wired up my room and it's fun to use a real cab and stuff like that. Last night I was showing Britt actually was here and she was like, show me how you use all this stuff. And I said, all right. And I showed her the amp switcher and all the amps. And then what I've got over here is basically, you can see the aux sitting right there. And then just over here, I've got, maybe I can turn the screen a little bit. I've got a reactive load. Reactive load sitting right here. Aux is there, and then I've got the power station sitting here. And basically what I do is on the amp switcher up there, I've got speaker outputs 1, 2, and 3. 1 is going to the SIR, 2 is going to the aux, 3 is coming out speaker output into the power station here and then out to the cab in the other room. And I can use this or bypass it if I want to. If I'm using a lower power amp or I'm playing a little quieter, I won't use this. I'll just leave it in bypass, but have it on. If I'm playing a little louder and I don't want to, pummel my greenback loaded cabinet with a 100-watt amp cranked or whatever, I'll use that, dial it back a bit. But long story short, I can easily do either load box or the mics on the cab, and it's just really simple. And I got that new cabinet and it sounds awesome and it's great. But so she was in here last night. I was showing her how I use it. And I went to the reactive load for a minute. And then I went to the aux actually. And I went, it all sounds great. Like the mics on the cab sound great. And the IRs I have loaded in these things sound great. And it's like, it's different colors of good is all it is. I've been using the cab more lately just because I have it and I bought it and it's novel that I have this. It's a really nice sounding cabinet and stuff. But it's like, they're all really good sounds. And it's to that point where I think for most people, the reactive load is, it's, $5.99 or whatever it is, and it's just, you don't need mics and you don't need preamps and you don't even need volume. And it's just, if you're recording at home, most people that have one, I'm sure will agree. It's just like this thing's a godsend, it's like problem solved, just great tones, no issues. So it's a luxury to have a room with a cabinet in it these days. And it's not really necessary. It's awesome. It's not really necessary. Now, one thing I have been using, like I used it on the Revival Drive Trem video here, is my little Princeton. I have a little silver face Princeton, just run-of-the-mill Fender, one of the new 68 custom reissues or whatever. And it's sitting over here. And I put my M160 ribbon mic on it, just about that far from the front of the amp. And I've been using it. It's perfect for, I'll run it on 3 or 4, run a drive pedal into it. It's a combo. It's like an amp that a lot of people can relate to. It sounds really good recorded in that combo mic in front way that just like, well, that sounds great. It's just a simple, it's not very loud. I can play in here with headphones on and hear the drums and then have the amp sitting there on 3 or 4 and just play because it's like 12 watts or whatever. And it's cool. So I've been using that too. So whatever the thing calls for. Seemed to me like a tremolo with a bit of light drive, sort of, I use my Strat, my 335 into the Prince. It's like, that's kind of a cool way to demo that pedal, It seemed like the right thing rather than like maybe loud Marshall 412 with whatever, although I probably will do that for the solo just to mix up the tone. I'll use the Revival Drive in front of the old Marshall or maybe my PT15. So Keating says Soundgarden was so organic, original, and homemade. Yeah, I agree. Man, organic. They had their influences, but they didn't wear them on their sleeve or anything like that. They really there's Zeppelin influence going on. I always use the example of like when I bitch about a band like Greta Van Fleet or something. Sometimes I hope those guys come into their own because I'm sure they're good players and. But I just think they sound too much like Zeppelin. I'll use the example of a song like Burden in My Hand by Soundgarden. You want to hear something that sounds kind of Zeppelin-y, or even like Head Down by Soundgarden. So, songs like that. There's a lot of Zeppelin in those songs to me, but they sound nothing like Zeppelin, if that makes sense. But you can, if you listen to them and go, oh yeah, there's that influence of like, I don't know, listen to those are the first 2 that just came to mind. But when I think of a song like Head Down or Burden in My Hand, you know. The Burden in My Hand certainly to me has a lot of like Jimmy Page going on, but without really sounding anything like Zeppelin. So they did a nice thing, those Soundgarden guys. How did you like the Timmy versus a Klon style drive? Well, I haven't actually. Well, I mean, I have like the Jan Ray, which is supposedly Timmy-ish, and I have the Klon. To me is more, you know, if I was playing like a dirty rhythm sound or a bluesy kind of rhythm sound, I wouldn't use a Klon necessarily to get, you know, when I'm playing chords. I use it more for like that mid-range boost single note thing in front of an already dirty amp or slightly dirty amp. It's more of a lead pedal for me, the Klon. I don't really play rhythm with it. Not that you couldn't, but if I'm going to do that, I'll use more like the Blue Ecstasy pedal or the you know, something like the Timmy. Timmy's got the smoothness to it. That's like the one I have here, the mini one sitting right over there. Great sounding pedal. But I would use the Timmy for like, you know, a dirty rhythm kind of thing. Tom Petty, Americana, whatever, that kind of thing, on up to like a Nashville kind of dirty, you know, dirty, but is it dirty kind of sound for rhythm. And then I would hit it with a Klon in front. That would be what I would do just naturally for, you know, that's the difference between those two pedals to me. Okay. What else do we got here? Let's see. Have I ever tried any Diaz stuff? Says Thomas. No, not really. Other than playing, like, for instance, say the Fender. Anybody ever play the Fender Vibroverb 115 that was the custom shop hand-wired model and stuff that he supposedly, you know, he did the mod thing on and stuff? This is technically like a Diaz amp, I guess. Love that amp. I love 115 Vibroverbs, but that's a Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, geek in, you know, it's such a cool sound. If anybody's ever played an original one with a Strat, oh my God, there it is. You know, you just play that's his sound to me. It's like the Vibroverb is the sound, you know, really, it's just this depth to it that's unbelievable. It's just such a unique, everybody always talks about the Dumble and the, you know, or whatever with him, super reverbs and stuff. Yes, he'd use those, but the Vibroverb is the sound. It's like unbelievable sounding to me. When I'll never forget playing a 63 Strat through like a 64 or whatever Vibroverb with a tube screamer. It's like, holy shit, there it is. Of course, because that's what he used on the first record, you know, early stuff. I know he used, I mean, okay, he used the Dumble evidently, like in the studio on the first, because it was Jackson Brown's studio and all that, Texas Flood, and he had one there, and who knows, you know, what he used. But when I watch El Macombo, you know, that's to me, like, that video is quintessential his tone, you know, and there it is, you know, the Vibroverb. Okay. What else we got here? Do you own or have you ever used a 6505 or 5150 head? Yes, in the early 90s, an original block logo 5150 that still had the Phillips tubes in it when they still used to ship them with the, you know, US made tubes. I had one of those, one of the very first ones. And I used it on gigs for a couple of years, at least in the early 90s, cover gigs. I used to play it with a, you know, God, I wish I could remember what pedals I used then. You make me think. It's like I have no recollection of what I used for effects back then. I think I had some rack mount thing, probably like a Digitech or something in the effects loop. Don't really remember. For, you know, some delay and reverb or whatever, but I don't remember what I used. God, I wish I could. I know I had this Japanese-made Sunburst Strat with a humbucker and a Floyd and two singles. I didn't have very much stuff back then, like 90, 91, 92. After I moved to LA, I sold all my Boogie stuff. Bought this PV 5150 and this Japan Strat that I think I got at Nadine's Music in LA here. I think that's where I bought the Strat. And that's what I used for, you know, for a few years. while I was living here. So yeah, I had one. It was cool. They're great. You know, it's a sound. I even like the crunch channel on it. I mean, it's not unlike that Soldano that I had here the other day. You know, kind of, it was similar amp, right? Kind of, you know, based off of it. I mean, I know they don't. Experts will say they don't sound the same or that close, but that's what it was based off of, and it does kind of remind me similar. So, yeah, Adam says, Dave said the boutique amp distribution factory is shut down until further notice. Well, with all the stuff that's going on, I think everybody's kind of, you know, in the same boat. So we'll see how it goes. You know, the quicker that we get through all this Corona madness, the quicker, you know, people will be able to get back on their feet and making stuff again, and hopefully people can afford to buy things again. You know, it's tough out there, you know, for just about everybody, right? I mean, it's like crazy times, you know. We'll see what happens, you know. I just hope everybody's jobs and stuff, and, you know, let alone people's health. If you don't have your health, obviously you don't have anything. If anybody out there has ever got any health problems, and a lot of people have, most people probably at some point, but you realize if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. If you don't have your health, you can't do shit. There's nothing else that you can do. So it really matters, you know, and the sort of population as a whole and all that. So we don't have anything. We don't have that. So we've got to take care of that first, obviously, or otherwise it all goes out the window. It's weird how, as a, you know, we don't realize that until you really run into a problem and go, now I really got to, you know, like if you got to run into some health issue or whatever, you know, you throw your back out even or whatever. You're like, holy shit, I can't do anything now, like at all, you know? So anyway. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Keating's wondering if anybody likes desert stoner rock, like Caius or Queens of the Stone Age. Cool rock music. How can you not like it? I'm curious about your storage method for pedals, says Eric. Well, right now it consists of some bins that are sorely failing. But sure, you have a ton of pedals around. So how do you store them? I need better. To me, actually, the best thing is probably the simplest thing. If you have a lot, is probably some those plastic bins from like Home Depot, or, you know, that you can get for, it's the cheapest way, and they're the strongest, and you can stack them. So if you've got enough, you know, you need a few of those for your pedals or whatever, and then I've got a spreadsheet on my computer that tells me, you know, because I've got quite a few pedals at this point, and I've got the bins and I've got them numbered, and it tells me which bin the pedals in the spreadsheet. You know, you got to go to bin 3 for that one or whatever, and then I'll know where I put the pedal, you know, so I don't forget. So some sort of like Google Doc spreadsheet, number your stuff, put it in those. But it's not really easy. That you got to take the top off and then get, you know what I mean? So one of the most ingenious sort of studio pedal things that I've ever seen was the system of drawers that Lyle Workman. Oh, sorry, it's a one of those like hardware store, you know, like a hardware tool case thing, you know, from like Home Depot or whatever. I'm not sure where you got it from, Ace Hardware or something, but you know, where the drawers all slide out, and it's a, you know, one of those things. It's amazing because the drawers are all, the depth is like that deep, and there's a bunch of them. So he's got all his pedals in one of those, and they're like $3.99. There's like $400 to get one of those things, but they're amazing for storing pedals with all the drawers, you know. IKEA a while ago, at home I have one of these. It sort of sucks because it's IKEA, but it basically sort of works. They sell this one particular, it's about yay wide, about yay high, with like 7 drawers in it. You know, and I saw that and I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. It wasn't cheap. It was like $100 and something for IKEA. It was a little expensive, I thought, but it is a pretty good little shelving thing for pedals. So there's a few different things. I have one of those at home, and I use the plastic bins at the studio to store things. And then I recommend making a Google Doc or something, and, you know, to notate if you use drawers or bins, whatever you use, notate where the pedals went, you know. You can categorize them, you know, overdrives and modulations and delays or something. Reminds me of the story about the XYZ sessions. Jimmy Page, Chris Squire, and Alan White never came to fruition, although some bootleg demos were a bit iffy to me. Well, not everything works out, but that does sound like an interesting band, man. Chris Squire, Jimmy Page, and Alan White. I kind of wonder if Chris Squire, Alan White, and Jimmy Page. I don't know. It seemed to me like, you think certain things like, I mean, I like the Firm, but maybe it was just the era and the production and stuff. But, you think Paul Rodgers and Jimmy Page, that's going to be awesome. But I was Firm. Nobody talks about the Firm anymore. I don't know why. It was a good band, but it was just, I need to go back and listen to that record. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes these things, it's like, ooh, supergroup. I wish people did more supergroup stuff now. Like that shit used to happen all the time, when you think of, Asia or Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, people used to just get together and make music a little bit more. And I always use that example. I probably brought it up before, but like when Paul McCartney got together with Dave Gilmour and Ian Pace, right? And they did like all these old rockabilly classics that they grew up on. But it's like, hey, wait a minute, that's a cool band, like Paul McCartney and David Gilmour and Ian on drums. Why don't you guys just make a band and make a record once every 5 years or something? And I just wish there was more of that kind of Temple of the Dog style. Maybe that's one of the last ones where supergroup, got together and make this awesome friggin' record that was, I just wish that people would do that more, like maybe Eddie Vedder should get together with Pete Townsend and make a record. He comes out and, sits in with the Who sometimes, doesn't he, and stuff. It's like, that'd be cool. Like, and get like John Paul Jones on bass and I don't know, like Dave Grohl on drums or something, make a band. That'd be a cool band. Eddie Vedder, Dave Grohl, John Paul Jones, and Pete Townsend. Get Jimmy Page in there too, although they're not friends, I don't think. Pete always used to bag on Led Zeppelin. I don't know. People should get together and make more music, Make records occasionally. It's good. What are you using for your live stream equipment? My computer and this thing. That's it. This is the G-Track Pro from Samson, and it's a godsend for doing this stuff. I have to say, it is awesome. It's just a USB microphone that has a 1/4 inch in on the back. So if you do a live stream, you can plug in, see the 1/4 inch in there in the headphones. So I could plug a guitar in, a output from my Helix or something. I could easily run into this and then play guitar, which I do sometimes. So I don't find it. People say it doesn't sound that good, because of the streaming and stuff. So I don't do it that often. But anyways, that's about it, really. Though I just stream right out of Google. Stream right out of Google. What is it? Chrome. That's what I meant. Yeah, it works perfectly. How do you have your Bogner Blue set up? Well, pretty much, depending on the amp I've got it plugged into, you can pretty much set the tone controls at noon and then go from there. Right now, when I use it with the 15, I've got the treble up at about 230, and then the mids and bass right in the middle. Structure switches and all that I've got set in one of the brighter settings. I've used it on full power, not the 9-volt or Variac thing. I like all the headroom coming out of it. And that's pretty much it. Gain cranked. Is it on plexi mode? I can't remember. But I've got the gain up really high and the volume on halfway, which seems like unity to me. Might be plexi mode. I can't remember. Sorry, I don't have my pedal board here right now. Right now we need a Pete Thorn, Rick Beato collaboration. I'd love to make another video with Rick. That'd be fun. He's a good dude. He's all the way across the country, though. Far away from me. Let's see here. What else we got, guys? What else we got? Can we do a joint. I'd love to do a live stream with him where we're on the same. We could do that, I guess. You're right. That is a good idea. I should ask him if he wants to do that. Have you tried I'd like to do that with a bunch of these guys, actually, like Rhett. He comes in here sometimes. Maybe he's here now. Rhett, are you here? Well, let's do a live stream together. It'd be fun. Have you tried the new Charvel Pro Mod line of guitars? I mean, just sort of picking them up at NAMM and occasionally in a store. They seem like pretty good guitars for the money, you know? Yeah, they do. If you want that kind of thing, Floyd Roses and hot humbuckers. Any tips for using the Celestion Vintage 30 IR collection, EQing mic position? My favorite way to do it is just generally speaking, the high gain blend of the 57 and 121. So try that. They make, their own blends, but those are my favorites. They're kind of my go-tos with the Celestion IRs. I just think that they're the best overall, sort of starting point. If you want, the dark one position is also generally pretty good and sometimes the balance position, some people might find it a little bright. The dark one is nice for, something like vintage 30 that's already pretty aggressive. But yeah, try that. My favorite, generally speaking, with the Celestions is the blend of the 57 and the 121, the high gain blend, even for low gain stuff. You might, if you need a real sparkly sound, because generally the low gain ones just have a little more sparkle to them, but they can be a little bright with gain. Yeah. Somebody's here from Berlin, 2269X. Hi from Berlin. What's up? How you doing over there? Andre says, I've been watching you since you posted the Sir Badger Amp video. That's around the same time I did the comment. You're in Brazil. What's up? Yeah, that was a long time ago. 13 years ago or something. What's my opinion on the Moore radar, says Rohan? Good basic IR loader, really. I did a video on it. As far as I know, I don't think I think it's 512 point IRs. I can't remember. They might have changed that with a firmware update, I think. It might be a little bit more like resolution or whatever you want to call it. But it works pretty good, man. It's not a bad thing at all. The radar, good little box. Let's see. Mr. Russum is up there in the super chat, top chat thing chat. Pete, could you do Ben Coombs show? Sure. Let's do one, Ben. Let's do it one of these days. Maybe next week or something. Danny says, yourself and Richie Faulkner. I know Richie a little bit. I've met him a couple times. He's a great guitar player. So a pretty awesome player for sure. Rhett had a cool video the other day, making your own IRs. Yeah, that's cool. I did a video on making an IR many years ago, but you can find it. It's that using load boxes and impulse responses or something it's called. And I make an IR in the video and show how I'm doing it. And then I compare the IR directly to, and I have something like that also coming out. So that, which I can't talk about yet, but you'll see it pretty soon, where it's, I show directly making an IR, combining it, comparing it directly to the mics. And I do it in such a way that it's like where it's the same riff and you're hearing this riff played continuously with the IR and the mics, and it's going back and forth, and it's the same riff playing. So it's like one guitar part, and it's bouncing back and forth between the impulse response and then the real mics with the same riff playing. It sounds like a seamless guitar riff where it's just like the same part. The tone does not change. It's exactly the same. So I think people will find it interesting. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? What's my thoughts on Novo or Echo Park guitars? I don't really know that much about them. And I mean, I know Joe Perry was playing some Echo Park guitars for a while. I did a video for them actually many years ago. I mean, 2012 or 13 or something like that. And I was sort of like in that position where it's like, I don't really do a lot of, because I've got my own signature. I didn't have a signature guitar then, but it's like, I don't really do a lot of other Strat or Tele types because I'm a Sur endorser and I just don't like to muddy the waters and stuff like that. But I did make this one video for Echo Park where I did 2 Teles, I think, years ago. And I don't really know that much about them. They were okay guitars. Yeah, I didn't walk away thinking they were like, oh my God, this feels like the greatest thing ever. But I did make a video of these 2 Ts. Never met the guy, you know. Yeah. Do you try and keep your studio at a consistent humidity? I have no idea what the humidity is in here. No, I don't. Luckily, you know, I find LA is generally, it's pretty dry here and it just sort of stays that way. It's like, although we had hell of a lot of rain recently, but it's not a place that I find like varies like crazy when it comes to humidity, like some places in the US. That can be a real something like Toronto, you know, where in the summer it's absolutely sweltering and, you know, super humid, or you know, this is not this, it's desert here basically. So yeah. Oh, yeah. Danny says he can't beat Charvel for the money right now, in his opinion. Yeah, and then somebody else was saying that BB Ninja says it depends on what you want to do. I would agree with that. I mean, it's like Charvels are great for that Charvel thing, and of course, if you want a Strat or a Tele, it's going to be a different thing. You know, I mean, they're basically Fender. You know, it's just another variety of a Fender guitar, really, at this point. So. Just Charvel by you know, the name on the headstock, which one could argue. I mean, I guess that even in the 80s, you know, Wayne was already out of the picture and it was really Grover. So thanks for doing this quarantine Sunday, says Stacks. Do you have any experience with the 2 Notes Captor X? It's the same load that's in, you know, the live Torpedo Live, which I've used. The 2 Notes products are generally, it's a good solid load box, you know, good unit, and I like the company and I like the people. So it's not, my favorite is the Sur still, but it's a good load box, you know. So yeah. More Pete and Tim Pierce. I'd love to do another video with Tim one of these days. I don't see him that much anymore. It's too bad. We had a good thing going there for a while. And we have a great chemistry when we get together. It's like always the same. It's just we start talking and it just goes and it's very natural, the flow. So like you see in the videos, you know. Yeah. Okay. You should start a super group with Tim Pierce. Well, I don't consider myself at the level that the super groups, you know, when I'm talking about super groups, I'm talking about people like, you know, like Brian May makes a band with, you know, I guess Brian did the Starfleet thing, so we can't bag on him too much because he did get together and you saw him sometimes in the studio with, yeah, Dave Gilmore or, but I would just love to see, you know, like, I don't know, man, like, just people get together and play more, like in that way that, you know, it's like there's still a lot of these folks around. It's like, I guess Dave Grohl does, you know, like with them Crooked Vultures. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They should do more of that stuff, you know. It's like just make bands, get together, you know, make records. You know, a little bit more of that would be really cool. What would make you choose, says Kenny, between the aux or the Sur reactive load? Well, to me, they're both great. And I think that it just depends on what type of person you are almost. The aux is a deeper unit that has the editor and all the effects and all that stuff. It's also twice the money. So the Sur has an exceptional load that is, I think, the closest in the business as far as actually reflecting what an actual cabinet impulse response looks like. So your amp is going to respond, you know, super close to what it does with a real cabinet. It's very simple as far as the IRs go. It's got the 16 slots. You just load, you know, they come loaded in. It's a plug and play thing. I mean, I remember Steve Stevens
getting his and telling me like, this was amazing. Like I did a session for some German producer. And he says, I just plugged it in and dialed up the sound and went plugged it into my interface. And then it was like, well, that sounds awesome. And then I just tracked it, went right to tape or right to the DAW. You know what I'm saying? And was done. And the producer was overjoyed with the guitar sound and everything was great. And so it's super simple, plug and play, maybe all you ever need for a lot of people. The aux is this deeper thing, you know, with the delay and the reverb and tons of different cabinet choices, and you can move the mics and all that stuff. And it's like, so it's two notes is similar where it's, you know, sir, you know, obviously doing something like the aux and stuff, you got to have like somebody that's got the background in digital and, you know, modeling and software and stuff and building an app and building a, you know, if you know, you don't need to do all that to just have a speaker sound. If you want to load up a good impulse response, you know, they concentrated on what it's like, well, we don't have a software engineer here doing, you know, all that stuff. We're going to make a great load box and we've got the ability to have an IR loader. Let's just do that and then do it at a great price, which is, it gets back to like what I was saying earlier. Like sometimes, you know, with guitar players, we don't want to spend all day. Great to have all these options, you know, like ability to get in and tweak and do 20 million things and really change the sound and add effects and all these different things that you can do with digital modelers and stuff. But there is a learning curve to all that. Sometimes as a guitar player, you just want to plug in and go, that tone rocks, and write a song and track it. So I would say what would make me choose is depending on the type of person I am. Am I a plug and play? Am I somebody that just wants to kind of plug in and get a great sound? I don't want to spend hours tweaking things. You know, if you're more of a pedal person and, you know, like I like, you know, a few pedals and an amp, that's my thing. I'm not really into this like paging through menus and, you know, but maybe if you're more of a somebody that's into tweaking, you know, are you Jack White or are you the Edge? You know, how deep into it do you want to go into, you know, shaping your tone and all that and really getting into the effects, you know? Okay. Let's see. Geddy Lee, then you get bass and vocals, Paul was saying. Yeah, somebody for a super group. I'd love to see Geddy do some stuff. I mean, it's let's all say that I was so depressed the night that Neil passed away. I mean, honestly, that one really hit me hard. It was awful. I would still love to see Geddy and Alex get together and do some stuff with, they're obviously friends and, you know, either other bands or I enjoyed seeing Geddy with Yes. You know, on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I thought that was wonderful because he was a big fan, and I don't know, you know, I'd just love to see whatever, like go do some stuff, man, like make some records, you know. He's obviously still a vital guy, like, you know, with his health and all that, and it'd be great to see more of these dudes. So, hey, Rick's here. What's up, Rick? So Rick is here. Rick, people were saying we should do a live stream together. I'd love to do a live stream with you, dude, one of these days. I don't know how to do it though, so maybe you know, when it comes to doing I think you need to use I can figure it out, Google Hangouts or whatever, right? But I'd love to do one of these things with you. And I was saying that, you know, I'd love to make another video with you, but you're all the way across the country, so it's tough to do. But we could do a joint live stream. We did a live stream together though in Germany. That was so fun when we sat around and you had the great idea of saying, okay, underrated guitarist, let's talk, you know, and then remember Phil X showed up, and this was at the bar in the hotel in Germany when we were there for GitCon, and we had a great live stream for about an hour and just talked about all these underrated guitar players, and it was awesome. So anyway, let's talk about it. Do something together. I'd love to. Rick puts out such great videos, man. Your Eric Johnson interview was wonderful. And a lot of people, I think, said this is the best interview I've ever seen with Eric because he was so candid, and I don't know, you really pulled out a lot of great information out of him, you know. And so it was awesome. But anyways, let's see. Can you run an aux into a cabinet too? Yes, you can. The aux works. That's from Trey. It works as an attenuator as well as a load box and all the direct recording stuff and everything. So yeah, you can play through a cab with it. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Opinion of the Wampler of Terraform. Really good pedal. Nice alternative to something that's maybe a little bit less expensive and a little bit slimmed down compared to a Mobius.
So it's a nice mod alternative. I think it's a good pedal. I did a video of it. You can hear what I was able to come up with it. So yeah. Let's see. What else we got here? Whitesnake at one point was the super group. Kind of still, in a way, it's like, as it changes lineups over the years and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of was, but really the band, yeah, I suppose. With you mean like after? I mean, it was like all the guys kind of came up in it. I mean, I guess you put Sykes together with David Coverdale, and that was kind of a super group. Everybody knew Sykes from Thin Lizzy, really, at that point. Tigers of Pantang, was that the band? Sort of super groupy, but Sykes really made his name in that band, And then of course the '87 album came out, and he was gone, and then you had Vivian Campbell and Adrian Vandenberg, and I guess David's thing was like, well, if I got to put the whole band together, I better do it big, and got all those guys. So yeah, I guess it was a super group. I remember being confused back then. Like, did any of these guys play on the record though? Like, when the record came out and they did the tour, it's like, wait a minute, this is a totally different band. Everybody was kind of confused about it, I think, or maybe it was just me and I'm a little slow. Eddie, Brian May, and Jeff Beck, says Brent. Well, Eddie and Brian May did the Starfleet thing together in the early '80s, so you can find that stuff on YouTube. It was kind of interesting. I want to see Page write with Gilmour. It would either be a total disaster or amazing. Yeah, I guess with any super group, it's either underwhelming or like, this is cool, Yeah. I used the Aux Live on a few gigs and thought it was overkill, but it's an amazing studio tool, says Rhett. Hi, Rhett. What's up, man? This is great having you guys here. Thank you so much for joining. And I'd love to, if you weren't here when I mentioned it, I'd love to do something with you as well. During these quarantine times, we should be doing Rhett, why don't we do something together? Let's do a live stream with the three of us. If we could figure out a Google Hangout or something like that, that'd be awesome. It'd be really fun. I'd love to talk to you guys about your string experiment that you did and stuff. And, I wrote an article for Premier Guitar last month, and I know, Rick, you know this, but I referenced the video. Rhett's also in it, where they were talking about string gauge and how it affects both feel and tone. And everybody kind of came to the realization that lighter gauges are pretty damn cool. Of course, it was with a Marshall kind of crunchy sound that you were using. In my article, I mentioned it depends maybe on the, if you're playing, obviously for, a jazz or, clean Fender sort of thing, it might be a different thing. But for that particular tone, it was really an enlightening, awesome video. I really enjoyed it. I love direct A/B, empirical kind of, testing, that kind of thing. I love that. Like, let's try it and see, rather than, do what we do here and talk about it. But, experimenting is really the way. That's why I'm so excited to actually, when this video does come out that I mentioned a little bit earlier, the impulse response thing, where I'm showing, I've made an impulse response, and then I've got the cabinet still mic'd up with, the amp and everything. And I directly go and cut between the IR and the mic'd cab with the same guitar riff, and it's going back and forth, but it's playing seamlessly, if that makes sense. So you're hearing it one minute you're hearing the IR, and the next minute you're hearing and it with the same riff playing through it, and it's friggin' seamless. It's the same guitar sound. So I can't wait to get that out. It'll be pretty soon. But little tests like that where people are like, oh, IRs aren't as good. It's like, well, listen to that. I don't know. It's a good thing, How is the SUR reactive load as an attenuator through a real cab, says Steven. Well, the reactive load isn't an attenuator, it's a load. So it's going to load down your sound completely, and then you'd have to reamp through another power amp. Now, it's pretty damn cool, as that. For example, actually, Al Estrada was using that with Dave Lee Roth recently. He uses reactive load to load his modded Marshall all the way down to line level, runs out through some effects, and then goes into a matrix power amp, and that's what he uses. And I saw him actually at the Open for Kiss before all this craziness happened. You couldn't go to a show anymore.
and his tone was amazing. So that sounded great. It's got a switch on it that lets you sort of tame the high end of the load. Not that the load is accurate, but what can happen is when you're using the SUR reactive load to load an amp down and then reamp through another amp, you can, especially if it's a tube amp, you can get a kind of double impedance curve thing going where the tube amp is then adding its own, impedance curve to the signal, and it can sound a little bit overly bright maybe. So what they did with the SUR is add a high cut switch that lets you just tame the top end on the reactive load, and so you can tailor it. So depending on the reamp that you're running through. Now, here's one thing about the reactive load that some people might know or don't, maybe some other people don't know, is that you can use it as kind of a one-step attenuator with an amp. Having said what I just said, it's not an attenuator, it's a load, but if you plug it in parallel, so in other words, if you've got a cabinet and a head, and you come out of your head into your cabinet, and let's say it's an 8-ohm head and an 8-ohm cabinet, is that right? Yeah. And then you've got the SUR reactive load plugged in on the other speaker output from the head. Okay. What you're going to do then is have the reactive load in parallel with the cabinet. So it's almost like you've got two cabinets plugged in. What you have to do then in that instance is set the impedance setting on your amp to 4. You gotta knock it down one setting. Okay. Because now you're going to have the load of the two cabs. But what happens is what you'll get is the same thing that you would get if you split the sound between two speakers. It's going to split, part of the signal is going to go this way, part of it's going to go this way. And the overall thing is going to be a reduction in the level going to the cabinet. So in other words, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but you're putting the reactive load in parallel with the actual cabinet. And what you get is about a 3 dB reduction going through the cab. So you can get kind of like it's like the first click on a hot plate or something, but it's going to sound better because it's a reactive load. So it's a one-step attenuation. The PT15, we have that built in. So if you use one speaker, the main speaker out on the PT15 going to a cabinet, it disables the load. The second speaker out on the PT15, if you use that one to go to your cabinet, it leaves the load on in parallel, and you get that one-step attenuation effect, which is it's kind of like almost like having if the amp was 7 watts instead of 15 or something. You get that 3 dB drop or whatever. It just takes the edge off. So it's really nice, actually. Nice feature. So you kind of can have that effect. Somebody's asking how old I am. How old do you think I am? A couple people up in the top chat up there. Danny, he says, I really want to see Pete, Rick, and Rhett live stream. Me too. We'll talk about it. I'd love to do that. I've never done anything like that with Rhett, so I think it'd be really fun. Especially during these times where we're all quarantined. Okay, Gabriel is up in there in the top chat, and he's in Atlanta. Actually, he's one of Rick's homies in Atlanta. I think Rick, you're in Atlanta, right? I don't get that wrong. I think you're in Atlanta, right? Let's see here. Finally taking the news home, Rome. Seriously, be happy to see you. He says, "Buongiorno. Finally taking the news coming from my hometown of Rome, Italy." Somewhat seriously. I know it's serious over there. I was just there a few months ago, man. I had a great time in Italy. And you guys are going through hell over there. It's craziness. But so happy to see you here talking about music and gear and taking my mind to a happier place. Thanks, man. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And I'm really sorry about what's going on over there. But we're all certainly in this together. And I'm just staying in this little room. The hell away from everybody, unfortunately, except for you guys. We can virtually be together. I know it is nice. It's nice to just think about guitars, actually, isn't it? For a few minutes, like when I go in these rants and I start talking about pedals and stuff, and I forget about what's going on. Which is we all need a little bit of a break. I get a little bit of news overload during the week for sure, and it's good to just turn it off and I don't know. Do this or go on the gear page or just pick up the guitar and make music, write a song. When I'm in here making videos like the one I was doing for this bad boy right here, the Revival Trem, show this again if anybody's here that wasn't here earlier. It's a great overdrive as well as a tremolo. I think they're underbilling how good the overdrive is in this thing by just calling it the Revival Trem. I think they should have called it Revival Trem Drive, but video coming on this week. Anyway, when I got in here yesterday and I just wrote a tune and then started making a video for this thing, it's like, yeah, I don't think about anything else. I forget about the rest of the world. And it's a nice thing.
Okay, I'm going to go all the way to the end of the chat here, just because I'm way behind, because I'm waxing on and on. It's the coffee. Coffee's got me all fired up. I'd like to see Al Estrada's rig, says G-Man Music. Yeah, it's cool. It's basically a modded SLP, like one of those reissue plexis. I think he has an SL68, but John Sir modded is it's a straight up Van Halen style plexi is all it is. You know, there's that one extra everybody knows, the V2 fat cap and all that stuff is in there. And he runs the requisite correct, you know, I think it's an Echoplex pedal, maybe a Echoplex preamp maybe in front, and you know, the phaser and the MXR flanger and stuff like that. And then he's coming out into the Sir load, loading it down out to, I'm not sure if his delays are SDE 3000s, but maybe, you know, but he's got stereo delay or whatever. And then a matrix out to the cabs. That's his rig essentially. Pretty cool. Let's see, up there in the top chat, Guido de I didn't bring my reading glasses today. Sorry. I'm trying to find a dirt pedal that works well with my 95 Fender twin reissue. Is that one of those red knob twins or no? No, those were in the 80s. Well, it depends if it's got a bright cap or not. I can tell you that the Revival drive I've been talking about while I'm giving them some love, they'll work with anything because they got this great way that you can kind of fine tune the top end on the pedal. So the brightest amp to the darkest amp to the most neutral kind of power amp, you can plug in a Revival drive and tune it. So check that out if you want a Marshally ampy overdrive. I would say otherwise, you know, just a Klon type or a great thing with a Fender is an old Zen drive. You know, it's the Robin Ford thing. So if you want the Dumbley thing more, that Zen drive pedal is really good into a Fender amp to do the Dumble thing. So I would say, off the top of my head, the Revival drive for a Marshall, Zen drive for a Dumble, and a Tube Screamer or a Klon type, the Archer, or you know, what's that, the Tree, Screaming Tree or whatever from JHS. That's a nice one that's got every Tube Screamer built in. Depends on the color you want, the flavor, that particular flavor. Thanks you guys for doing the super chat thing. I really appreciate it. Who am I missing here? Down in the bottom here of the chat. Are there a lot of aux owners here? Chris says. I wonder. A lot of aux folks in the house. I got to start using my aux. I have to update the app on my computer because I updated the firmware in my aux, but I don't have the updated software in my computer, so I can't open it. Software updates. We love it. Mike says he found me through Robert Baker. He thinks the world of you. Robert's a great guy. What a sweet dude, you know, and he makes great videos. He's just a nice person, and he's a really good player. And yeah. You're young looking, like Spock's son, maybe. That's just the haircut I have going right now. This. I don't know what the hell's going on with my hair, honestly. I'm trying to grow it, but it's doing whatever it's doing. It's got a mind of its own. Just don't leave, hair. Please don't get up and go. I still like you. Even if you are a pain sometimes. Have I tried the Fractal FM3? No, like most people, I haven't checked it out. Hey, somebody said I'm 49. I'm not 49 yet. That's not true. Have you tried the Fractal FM3? No, I haven't. I'm still using my old AX8 thingamajig. Yeah. Great show today, says Preston. Thanks, man. The J Rocket Dude, somebody's suggesting for the front. That's a nice pedal too for oh yeah, JHS Bonsai. That's right. That's the one I was thinking of. Not the Screaming Tree. I just make shit up sometimes, don't I? The J Rocket Dude, nice, also Dumbly kind of pedal. Really good. Yeah. What else we got here? My friend has a red knob twin. Sounds great. I remember the red knob Showman sounding. Wasn't it Showman from the 80s that was a Fender? I had a head for a minute. It wasn't mine, but it was like borrowing it or something. I don't even remember where the hell it came from, but I remember trying that and a Jubilee when it first came out in 87 around the same time. And they were both sounded really good to me, but maybe my perception of tone wasn't great back then. There just wasn't many amps back then, was there? You know, I had a Boogie Caliber 50, the original one, with EL84s. Anybody remember those? And it was smoking, but literally it did smoke the tubes. EL84s weren't great back then, and it was kind of biased hot or something. And I remember red plating, and I was like, I didn't know much about tube amps. It was one of the first ones I actually had. And I was like, oh, this worries me. And I got rid of it. And I got a studio preamp and a 295 power amp instead, which was a mistake. The Caliber 50, I should have just found some good tubes and left. It was great sounding amp, as I remember. And there's been a couple times that I've almost rebought it. And I thought, what the hell do I need that for? I don't need one of those. And I also remind myself, like, hey, you don't like EL84s for high gain stuff, generally speaking. But that doesn't mean, I don't know. My memory of that amp was it just had a really great lead sound. Yeah. Trey says, I remember using a Distortion Plus with a twin Silverface back in the day. Man, I've still got an old Scripty Distortion Plus. Kind of a cool pedal. I used it in the Eruption video, that how to play Eruption video. I'm using the Distortion Plus in front of the blue channel of an EVH 5150 just to get a little bit more grind on the amp. So that's what I arrived with to get that tone. In that video, at least. Yeah. Weren't the rev knob Fenders designed by Rivera? Might have been. I don't know. I know he did the concert and the Super Champ stuff. Got a few amps from the early 80s. I don't know about the red knobs. Not sure. Yeah. SD Design says, wow, Pete is still live streaming. I am, because I got here so late. So still on. It's true. Yeah. Let's see. Any ideas on how to get good sound when running in-ears? I find my guitar sound is a lot less pleasing and harsh sounding. Dude, story of my life. That's why I quit using them, really. I don't like it. I don't know. In-ears, they drive me crazy. A tip on good, well, if you can get any kind of stereo thing going, it really helps. A little bit of imaging. You can do the trick where you try and run, a stereo delay on the sound going to your ears, where you get like maybe 35 milliseconds on one side and 45 in the other with no feedback. So it's just one repeat, really. But just blend that in at about 10%, and it widens the sound, so it's not that mono pinpointed sound in your in-ears. Anything else you can do to add a little bit of fun in the in-ears, stereo wise? You got to kind of work with your monitor engineer on it if you have one, or if you're doing them yourself. I just hate the friggin' things, man. I don't know. They're great for some things, I don't want to I've gone over it a million times, but they're great for festivals where you can't do a sound check and you need a consistent, then it's a necessity almost. If you're running around on ego ramps and all that way out, or you're running, your mix stays the same, you can hear your guitar. That's great. So that's cool. They're great for certain things. If you've got a really loud stage, which with Tsuyoshi Nagabuchi in Japan, the stage is so damn loud. Mainly he likes loud side fills with his voice coming loud, and it's loud. So it's like, okay, I feel like I need these for my hearing to stay intact. And the monitor engineer, to be fair, is great. So they're, it's a best case scenario thing with the in-ears over there, and I just use them. But the tour I just did, I didn't want to use them. Not that the monitor engineer was really good and stuff, but I was just enjoying. It's not a real loud stage volume, and I could hear my amp on stage good. I could hear the drums. Like, I don't need to use these things. It's just more fun. So, yeah. Okay, moving down in the chat. Moving down a little lower. We'll go for another. What have we got? We've got about 2 hours now. I'll go another 10 minutes or something like that, and then I'll split. I can't imagine using in-ears. It would totally freak me out, says T-Mit73. Yeah, it's a uncomfortable feeling, especially at first, like hearing your sound so direct and pinpointed in your ears, and you hear every little.
and it's not a great sound. That's the other thing I find, generally speaking. A lot of it has to do, I think, with the wireless nature of the the packs. Generally speaking, most in-ear systems are analog, as far as I know. It's not digital because there's delay, and I think so. Most of the what I'm getting at is the sound coming out of the pack, because it's wireless coming from the transmitter and all that, isn't great. That's why you'll find keyboard players and drummers many times use a fixed wire going to the monitor desk. It's a line. It's not a wide wireless pack. It eliminates all the RF and that bullshit that you can get, but it's also just a better sound in the in-ears. So there's that, but it just always sounds the tone sounds kind of scratchy and not great to me. I do know of something coming that is supposed to help with this, so I'm excited to try it. When I can't talk about it because it's a new thing that's coming, but it's supposed to make it sound like, for guitar players, like a little more like amp in the room sounding. That'd be a godsend. Maybe that's the one of the things I hate the most about the in-ears is the Mark says stereo is the only way to get it sound better. I agree. One of the things, though, that really bothers me is the lack of, well, first of all, being able to mix by walking on stage. So I need to hear a little more hi-hat right now. I can walk over to the hi-hat, because I'm like, I can't quite hear the time. So, when I'm on in-ears, I'm always telling the monitor guy to turn this up and down and that up and down. And it just takes me out of the music and out of the zone. Not being able to hear the crowd that well, that bothers me, because I feel like it's not as fun. And the inability for people to talk to each other on stage sucks, like just being able to walk over to the bass player and share something funny that you just happened, or say, hey, what's the next song? Are we going, or whatever, and you kind of can't anymore. It's like, so people will come over and start talking to you. You're like, what? And it's like, I can't, I got this thing stuck in my ear. That's, that's basically like a, attenuating 30 dB. So you got to yell in my ear if you want me to hear over the music that's blaring in my ear from the, I don't know. It's just kind of anti-music. But I remember a guy was playing with Draco Rosa, actually, like trying in-ears for the first time. And he worked with them for a few days, and then he pulled them out and threw them down. He's like, forget it. Like, I hate this. Like, I'm not doing this. If this is what making music is like, then I won't play anymore. I'll paint, because he's a great painter. But, he just had this like violent reaction to them. He was like, this sucks, and I liked his, I don't know how he's like, why am I doing this? Like, he's been playing music forever. He's like, I don't need to do this. So Super Gigawatt says Chris Cornell had problems with them. I turned Chris on to the Sensophonics in-ears with the mics built in, and he used those, I think, always after that. They're pretty cool, but they're $2,500 for a pair of in-ears. They've got a built-in active microphones in them, and you can blend in the outside sound. So that's pretty cool. I have a set, but they broke. And I got to say, the Sensophonics people were really not great about the, I felt like, I bought the set, paid full pop for them. A couple years went by until I really got to use them extensively, but the left side started going quiet. So I was like, is there something wrong with the left side of my mix? And are they dirty, or is it what? Is it the driver's going bad or what? And sure enough, the in-ears were like the driver was getting faulty or whatever. So I had them fixed once, and then it happened again. So they had my mold still on file. I remember sending them in. They fixed them. I paid for it. And they sent them back. So it wasn't even a warranty thing. And then I held on to them for a few years and didn't do another tour with them. So now a number of years have gone by, but I tried them again, and the side that I fixed it screwed up again. And I contacted them. I saw them at NAMM, actually, and they were like, yeah, you're pretty much going to need just a whole set of new ones at this point. And I was like, I barely used these things, and I paid for a repair once, and I paid $2,500 for the in-ears initially. And they're like, yeah, but they're really old, and you're just going to need new molds anyway, so it's going to be another like $2,500 or whatever. And I was just like, I put like $5,000 into these things at this point, like, and I don't even like in-ears. And so anyway, really cool that they've got the mics built in. When they did work, it was neat. It was like you'd turn the mics all the way up, and it was basically like you didn't have in-ears in. And then you'd also get the signal from the desk. And so at that point, you can kind of approach in-ears almost more like you would a wedge, because now you can hear the stage through the mics, it was almost like an active earplug, right? You can turn them down, up or down. They're called ambient ears, I think, if anybody wants to look it up on their site. But you could bring those mics up or down to any level you want, and then just get the direct feed from the desk, whatever. So, of course, I said to them, well, when I was like, I'm not going to make the guitar out of phase because I'm going to have the direct sound of the mics and then also the sound coming from the desk of the mic on the amp. They're like, yeah, we can't really do anything about that. It'll be kind of, but you just sort of mix and match the sound to whatever. Maybe you don't even need guitar in your ears at that point if you can hear your amp and you got the mics on, and then you're just like, well, just give me a little kick and give me lead vocal and my own vocal or whatever. You can almost use them more like you would use a wedge. So I liked that aspect of them. I thought they were neat. I turned Chris onto them. He liked them. He thought they were cool. But Chris struggled a lot, I know, with I don't think he struggled as much, of course, when he was doing his own, like his solo shows. Soundgarden, I know, was tough for him because of bass volume on stage and stuff. I know Ben played really loud, and he found he had to struggle with the onstage sound, consistent struggle that we talked about a number of times with the trying to get, he's a fidelity guy. Chris had great ears, and I recognize it. And I think he bonded with me on that, which is part of maybe why he got the in-ears I recommended, because, he knew that, like, he'd hear, you say turn something up 1 dB. He could hear 1 dB. And I felt like I can hear 1 dB. So I'm like, can you add a little bit more, like, can you take a little 250 out of the graph on my, this is stuff I do on my in-ears. Here's a couple other things you could do. There's always a master graphic EQ on the whole output of your mix, right? Try cutting some low mids, like some 250, 200 to 250, and maybe dumping a little bit of low end out, because you get bass on stage and you feel it, and no matter what, you hear it and you feel it because it comes right through the, so the bass doesn't really, by putting those in, get that much quieter. So if you want a little more clarity to your mix, rather than, boosting top end, try cutting, like as I do in recordings all the time, but try cutting 200, 250, 300, like cut some of those low mids out of your in-ears a little bit on the overall graph and see what you think of that. Then I find a lot of them to be kind of dark, like not have a lot of presence. So often I'll run the high end boost on the pack on, there'll be sometimes be like, if it's a Shure one or a Sennheiser, there'll be a 2 dB setting and a 4 dB setting where you can get a bit of high end bump. You can either do that on the pack or you could do it on the graph at the desk and get a little bit more clarity. So those are two things that I always do. I spend a little bit of time EQing, and one of the other things that you can do that I find was that, and I used to do this when I played with Chris, I remember, was I would just go over to the desk and say, can I just do a mix while the rest of the band plays? And the guy was often totally cool with that, or mixing, monitor guy Bump, and his name was Bump. And so I'd get the whole band to just play, and I would just, while they're running through a song, play my own guitar a little and just do my own mix, because I could tell easier than, can you give me a little more? Can you get it? It's like, if I just have the 3 minutes at the console with the drums, okay, bass, okay, and I can kind of set up, oh, that sounds much better. Like, for, it's easier to set up your own mix than it is sometimes to relay to somebody and have them, so anyways, okay. God, if you get me going on in-ears, I go off forever. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's go down to the bottom here, over to chat, and see what we got. I'm going to go pretty soon. Mark says, hate to say it, in-ears suck for guitar players, but they make your band vocals tired. Agreed. No question that singing's better and easier and saves people's voices, I would say. Singers just don't sing as loud when they use in-ears, and they're great for vocals. Great for a lot of other instruments. The drummers love them. Keyboard players love them. It's just, even bass players seem to like them. I just think for guitar, it's a tough one. Guitar relies so much on the sound coming out of the amplifier. A snare drum, I don't know. It's an acoustic instrument. It's so damn loud. And maybe if I played acoustic guitar, it'd be like, this is great, But the sound coming out of the amplifier is such a thing that, you hear the reverb of the room. I mean, I don't think we've ever really, anybody that's ever been in the studio for the first time knows that it's like difficult to capture exactly what you're used to from your amp. Oh, I thought my amp sounded like this. You stick a mic on it, you go in the control room, and you're like, that doesn't really sound, like my amp. And then you got to go through all this time and experimentation to figure out how to capture the sound that you thought was coming out of your amp. Like that's why people get into ribbon mics and double miking or triple miking or room mic. And you need to do all that stuff to all of a sudden, and things like that you can't really do in a live context. You can't put a mic back, a condenser back 6 feet from the amp and capture the room and all that stuff, because then you'd have the whole damn stage getting in the mic. So you always end up with this compromise in the ears. Like I say, though, I do know of something coming that's aiming to solve that, which is pretty neat. Maybe it'll be great. We will see. Christopher says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Your live streaming and Rick Beato live streams, new interviews, part of one's keeping me sane during all of this. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you were enjoying it. And hey, it helps keep me sane too. I enjoy this just as much, if not more than you guys do. It's really fun, and I learn things too. I mean, like this week I've learned, the flanger from Barracuda was maybe a one-off. I didn't know that. It's very interesting. So you guys teach me stuff all the time. Let's see. Anybody have any experience with a single in-ear to get the best of both worlds, says Buzz. I've heard that's a bad idea, Buzz. Like there's something that your brain does when you only have one ear plugged, where it's boosting the volume of the other one. You're actually going to get some potential hearing damage by keeping one in and one out. I've heard it's not a good idea from I can't explain exactly what's going on, but an audiologist probably could. I know a lot of people that do that though. I just, so. Yeah. Hey, Pete, what's with the Laboga amp on the shelf there? It's an amplifier that came from Poland. They asked me to check it out, and I said, I've got an amp endorsement, and I can't really, be demoing, amps for other companies and things like that, because I have a signature line of amps. And they said, we just want to send it to you and have you try it and just send it and keep it, see what you think. And so they send it to me, and I've still got it here. And it's pretty damn cool, actually. It's a 50-watt Marshall affair with a modded, it's got a clean channel and then a modded channel that has a kind of a mid shift on it that you can, but it's from Poland, and it's a good sounding amp. I feel bad because I actually haven't had that much chance to use it. I got so busy traveling towards the end of last year, doing clinics and stuff, and then doing the tour that, it's been a minute since I've had it here, and I just haven't had a hell of a lot of opportunity to use it. There's only so many hours in the day, so I got to spend a little bit more time with it. I've been thinking about that lately. Yeah. Okay. Ear funk from in-ears, says Deja Blue. That's a good thing to keep in mind, is keep your in-ears clean. It's amazing how dirty those things can get. Ugh, ear goo. But yeah, all of a sudden, if you're like, why does the left side sound dark? That's why. There's shit in the hole. So, yeah. What else we got here? You guys are talking about Jet City amps. Whatever happened to your signature overdrive pedal? Well, I've talked about developing pedals over the years, but I've got an idea for one. It's just taking time to come to fruition. Not necessarily an overdrive. It is a pedal, but it's more than that. Yeah. BW Ninja, or BV Ninja, sorry, says be careful with that. It's very easy to damage hearing that way in a loud band situation. Would not recommend it. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. One in, one out with the in-ears is not a great thing. Yeah. Okay. Down in the bottom of the chat. I missed a super chat, says Ben. Thanks, Ben. And he says, it's coming from a guy named Cody. Sorry, I missed that up in the top super chat thing there, Cody. He says, just moved to LA to play. Good timing, right? Yeah, sorry, man. At least you can go to the beach, and they're mostly empty, so you can walk around. Don't go on the beach if it's busy, like that Florida stuff. But I went there the other day, and there was nobody around. It was awesome. When things mellow out, any suggestions where to get started? Jams, venues? Well,
Well, there's the jams Monday night at the Viper Room, Tuesday night at the Whiskey, Wednesday night, every last Wednesday, I think it is now, at the Lucky Strike. And you can meet some cool musicians, make some friends there, those jams. There's always great gigs going on at the Baked Potato. Somebody mentioned in the chat here, Harvell's in Santa Monica. There's some good stuff going on there. But there's a bunch, 5 different clubs you can go to at least there. Try those scenes. Make some pals. See what's going on. Hi, Pete. Have you ever tested the Marshall DSL 100H? I had a Marshall DSL 50 many years ago. It was my main amp in the late 90s till about 2000, 2001, 97 to 2001 or something. I had a DSL 50, and that's mainly what I used. It was all right. It wasn't amazing, but the clean channel, the green channel, was quite nice. I do know there's some good mods you can do to those amps. You could hit up Dave Friedman about that if you're interested. What's the modulation effect on the Comfortably Numb solo? I think it's flange. I think there's a bit of flange going on. I remember because I was getting it together to play it with the classic rock show, and I think it was Electric Mistress or something. So I came up with a flanger that sounded pretty good on the Mobius, and I used that. But there's a lot of information on Gilmore's. I think Gilmore-ish is the site. If you guys haven't seen it, if you're a Dave Gilmore fan at all, there's some good. If you just Google Dave Gilmore guitar rig or something, this site, I think it's called Gilmore-ish. And that, man, there's like tons of information about what guitar and what he did on this song and that song and, you know, his rigs over the years. Dakota said, "What's up, Pete? Just us, man. We're all hanging here. We still got 450 people here. If I just hung around, would you guys stay?" I should go soon and keep working on this demo, but I'm not going to go yet. Dig the Sir shirt. Thanks to the nice folks at Sure for the swag. Marshall DSL used the plastic inputs. I don't know. I had a 90s one. I can't remember it very well. I don't remember what I did with it. Isn't that weird? You think about, I had this thing for 4 years, and I don't remember how I sold it, got rid of it, traded it. What the hell did I do with it? I don't remember. Late 90s. What did I get after that? It was like not long after that, I used the Randall preamp and 50-watt aside RT250 power amp, and then got an Egnator one after that. Used that for a little bit. Pete, do you know Satchel from Steel Panther? I do, yeah. He was here in this room a while ago because he was by the studio space here doing something else with somebody else here. And I hadn't seen him in 25 years or something, but he was one of the very first people I met in LA because he was a teacher at MI. So Russ Parrish is his name. When he's out of character. And he's a very, very nice guy, actually. And he was a stellar guitar player then. He's a year younger than I am. So I got to GIT when I was 19 and he was 18, I think. And he was ripping. And, you know, he was kind of used to be Paul Gilbert's roommate. Probably not a lot of people know that, but they lived on Yucca Street in Hollywood, in the bad part of Hollywood. At least it was then. It's probably fine now, really. But they lived there, and I guess they used to have a band. You could probably find videos called The Electric Fence, and they used to do like kind of hard rock covers of, like, I remember they did Straight Up by, who did that song? Straight up now, tell me, do you really want to love me forever? Paul, who was that? Can't remember that singer's name. Anyways, they used to do stuff like that, and they were fun. The Electric Fence, check it out. Paul Gilbert and Satchel. He played bass mainly, I think. Ben needs you. Answer him. Sorry, Ben. What's up? What's going on? Have to leave at some point to do my own show. Oh, okay. Sorry, Ben. Well, don't feel bad. You can jet at any time. Is that it? I'm looking for other. I did answer Cody's super chats. Or anything else, Ben, that I'm missing? Sorry. I was chastised. Yeah. Okay, this is interesting coming from Preston. My right ear is more damaged than my left because I played live with my amp to one side for most of my life. Yeah, that's like Ted Nugent. lost all his sound, all his hearing in that ear because he had those Showmans, you know, on the left side of the stage. Yeah. Okay. What do I think about Jacob DeRaps? DeRaps. I hope I'm saying his last name right. That's funny because I just got an email from him yesterday, and he sent me to his video. It was very Van Halen-esque kind of 80s LA rock sounding song. Great tone, ripping solo on the song. He's great. He's 23 now. It's funny because he's like, yeah, you retweeted or reshared or whatever I did, a video that I did, because he could do the Van Halen thing quite well. And he said, you shared my video when I was 16. I'm 23 now. And I remember doing that. And it's like, oh my God, like, is it really that much time has passed? Since, you know, it's really puts it in perspective to think about somebody that was a teenager and is now like fully young adult, 23 years old instead of 16. And it seems like it was a couple of years ago to me. It's just the time flies, you know, it's nuts. Somebody else has asked me if I use a treble bleed on my guitar. Yeah, I use the standard Sir treble bleed on my Sir guitars. Just the standard one they put. It works great. If you have time, could you talk about the difference between a pedal like the Bogner Blue and your amp for Marshall tone for feel and tone? The Bogner Blue does a really great, I don't know what it is, but that particular pedal through my amps, through the clean channel, does a great lower gain. It doesn't get near the gain of the PT amp, but it does like anywhere up to maybe 1 to 4 on the gain on the PT amp. It does a good sort of version of that. So I'll use the Bogner Blue for that kind of lower gain thing. And then I've got, generally speaking, my rhythm gain is on about 5 on both the PT15 or PT100. I'm looking at it right now. It's on 5. And then I run the lead channel about 6.5 and then hit it with an Archer for a little bit more even because it's like a different flavor to the gain. So, so the Blue, to summarize, does a great lower gain, pretty close version. You know, the Revival Drive would be awesome too, especially the compact version. Similar, they're both great sort of plexi pedals. You know, not high gain, but low to medium gain. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? We got to put somebody in timeout because they're saying the same thing over and over again. I think Ben had to go, maybe. Might have jetted. So now I got to do my own moderation or just get the hell out of here quick. Okay. Might be time to go anyway, guys. What's your favorite cab on the aux? I like both 25-watt greenback cabs the most. There's one called Thick and another one called Punch. Those two are my favorites. For others, like I like the 410 a lot for clean sounds, the Bassman style one. The AC30 one's really good on the aux. Excellent, actually. For that, you know, Alnico blue thing. Do you have a guitar with flat wound strings? I don't. That's Blue House music. I don't have any guitars around here with flat wound strings. I'd love to have a bass with flat wounds, though. That'd be cool. But I really have flat wound or round wound, ground wound, or any of that stuff. I'm not really into that. You know, the furthest I'll go is a pure nickel set because I'm a rocker. Yeah, I'm a roller too, baby. Let's see. I've been on here a long time. Used to be listed under Tom RH. That's bent. I don't know. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Whose tone always knocks me out? Eddie's tone on balance just floors me. That's Arthur. Yeah, I guess that was full on balance. What do you think? Soldano 5150, I guess by that point, probably. It is really cool. It's that harmonizer tone to the max, but it's cool. I like the sound on the FUCK album too, the Andy Johns produced one, just because it's got that great drums and bass from Andy Johns too. It had that different quality to it that was pretty cool. I need to go back and listen to those records. You know, I'm a huge fan of Ed. Obviously, I love it. I'm really the Dave era guy just because of the lyrics and stuff like that. I don't know, his approach I bonded with more. So there's Sammy people and Dave people, but I feel like later on I got more don't know, poppy or something with Sammy there, you know, and the song sort of reflected that. And but I've listened. I mean, it took me a long time actually. I hadn't really listened to the Balance album, and I did listen to it on a drive a while ago and really go and listen to it. It was an interesting listen. And I like Sammy too as a person, you know. I love him as a person. Actually, I think he's wonderful, you know. For me, I don't know, the Dave era. Maybe it's just that's what I grew up with when I was 13, 14, 15. That's what I first heard. Liked the band still after, but you know what I'm saying. But, you know. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm so blind. I gotta read. No reading glasses today. OU812 is so 80s. It is, isn't it? Cool though. I like that record a lot, actually. The OU812 record. Just thought it was some great stuff on there. Even stuff with the keys and stuff. I don't know. Cool sounding record. I don't know. Enjoyed it. Yeah. Will you be doing more live streaming now that you're on quarantine? Well, like I said, I'd love to do one with like Rhett and, you know, like some special stuff, like a different with Rick, and, you know, get some different folks together and stuff like that and do. So I'll keep doing the Sunday thing, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I could come up with a different topic and do one midweek too or something, but I don't want to burn people out on them because generally speaking, I feel like once a week is enough, but I don't know. Maybe if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Okay, I'm going to go, I think, and keep working on my video here for this pedal. And I don't know. You guys have a great week, and I don't know if I can get together with Rhett and Rick if they're interested. Maybe we'll have an announcement about a fun live stream coming soon. And I'll try and think of more of those kinds of things I can do. Might be cool to have some guests or something. You know, maybe do one midweek with Dave Friedman or something. You know, some pals. Okay, everybody have a terrific, awesome time out there self-quarantining. You know, I don't know what's there to do. Play guitar, write songs, you know, put out music. I guess, you know, make the most of it and do the best we can, right? So all we can do. It doesn't feel that different to me because I just come in this room and spend all this time by myself anyway. I'm a crazy person. But anyway, I know a lot of you are having tough times out there. Everybody hang in there, and I wish you all the best. Don't get sick. Wash your hands. I wash my hands 20 times a day anyway. I'm a germaphobe. I did it before all this. Okay, everybody, take care. Have a great week.